2026 Historic Resources Commission meeting. The HRC is a quasi-judicial body that's governed by North Carolina general statutes and the City of Asheville's Unified Development Ordinance and Buncombe County Ordinance. We are authorized to hear requests for certificate of appropriateness for alterations, demolitions, new construction, and other works within historic districts, and for the alteration and demolition of historic landmarks and other duties, including preliminary review of subdivisions as specified in the ordinances for the HRC. I'll now ask commissioners to introduce themselves briefly, starting with future Chair Celesta Gorman.
Celesta Gorman, Interior Design.
Hans Scobie, Residential Construction.
Amy Moxley, architect.
Sue Oliva, American historian.
Will Hornaday, Albemarle Park.
Jenny Bowen, Buncombe County Special Collections.
Leslie Humphrey, Montford Neighborhood.
Montford.
Shannon Watkins, real estate broker.
Alex Cole, HRC staff liaison.
And some legal people.
Matt Holloway, legal.
Thank y'all. We'll now consider the minutes from last month's meeting of the HRC. The minutes include finding of fact and conclusion of law. Are there any corrections?
We didn't get a copy of the minutes.
Well, on that note, we have a thank you and a goodbye.
No.
Yeah, we're doing it. We have to solve it first. Okay, this is your last time being boss. Yeah, okay. Okay.
We'll just share them for adoption next time.
Okay, well, there's going to be 2 months of approval next time. Okay. Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah.
All in favor of having 2 months of minutes next month, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
Wait, can we go back to agenda item 2?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we can.
This thank you to me for serving on the HRC.
Okay, well, that's.
Thank y'all.
Very cute. No cigar, mister. It's my sad duty today to wish Will Hornaday, after almost 7 years of serving on the Historical Resources Commission, goodbye for now. He's been vital glue to all of us, and his kindness and thoroughness of preparation has been wonderful to serve with. I will miss him very much. And every time he showed up, just like this with the guidelines, he's ready to go, knows his stuff, which is wonderful. So we want to thank you, Will, and we wish you all the best and want you to come and visit.
I'll visit.
And we know that you're involved with Asheville's historical legacy, and we will continue to see you in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. We will now begin the evidentiary hearings for the items listed on the agenda. As a quasi-judicial proceeding, the HRC is not setting policy, nor are we soliciting public opinion on the desirability of an application. The HRC hears and considers evidence presented and applies standards set forth in the standards for a specific historic district or landmark for that application. The HRC must make its decision upon competent, material, and substantial evidence to determine the facts of the hearing. The HRC will use judgment and discretion to apply the standards contained in the relevant standards to the facts. Commissioners in voting for an item will not have a fixed opinion, not susceptible to change, have a conflict of interest, or have engaged in ex parte communications regarding the application. Rules for speaking. The speaking at this meeting is open to the public, but participation is limited to interested parties who wish to provide comment, testimony regarding the proposal. So if you're going to be speaking today for your application or as a witness to someone else's, it's time to stand up and swear you in. All right, everybody's talking, almost. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for a certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank y'all. Y'all can sit down. Now we're going to move on to and sign into the piece of paper in the backity back if you get a minute at some point tonight. Now we're going to start the first public hearing. So staff member Alex Cole.
Thank you, Chair Hornaday and members of the commission. First item is under new business. I think I mentioned this last time around that you all heard this item for the first time at the April meeting, but we neglected to ask for a motion for it to be continued. So we had to re-advertise and somewhat start over. So, but the application is still the same. There's just some additional documents that were provided by the applicant to illustrate the changes that are proposed. I'm just going to kind of give a brief recap from my last slide presentation. So as you know, this park is located within the south side neighborhood of Asheville. It's an existing, I think it's about 5-acre park that's got a historic pool, there was a ball field there now, but they modified it into a walking track. There's a basketball court and also a picnic shelter and some playground equipment out there and surface parking. The pool and pool house have been in disuse for a little bit of time, and not going to get too far into this either since we talked about it some last time, but of course the pool use was relocated to the Grant Center farther down the street. So the city has been working on trying to reimagine what the pool space might be repurposed for, as well as the pool house. So these are just some existing photos of those two features being the contributing historic features within the park. So we did spend some time on this last time, but these are the existing and proposed elevation drawings. If you'll recall, we talked about that they're proposing to replace all the the transom windows, as well as the doors on either both the west and east facades, which are the primary entrances into the building. Like you would enter on the east side, go into your respective side of dressing/locker room, and then come out on the west side where the pool is. They're proposing to remove those doors and make the openings a connected breezeway through the interior of the building. I still do have concerns about that. I think SHPO, if you read the technical advice letter from the SHPO, they didn't necessarily take issue with the doors being removed, and I think I can get on board with that. But my recommendation for the openings is that they be maintained as is. In particular, you'll notice that the opening on let me see if you can see it better in the photo. On the west elevation, which is the top left, you see it's 2 door openings. And I think, if they want to do a breezeway and you all are supportive of that, great. But I think they should maintain those 2 door openings from the exterior so that it still appears the same. And then, it's open corridor in the middle between the two, the east and west elevations, if that makes sense. Because that way you at least maintain that visual appearance of those openings on the exterior. And the other kind of more prominent change that was noted in the technical letter as well was the doorway on the north elevation that I had noted in the previous hearing that I did have concerns about. The SHPO shared those concerns because that elevation is so visible. And so they suggested that one solution might be to just have a single door, and maybe it's moved farther back on that side elevation as one solution to have an entryway there. I understand from the interior programming of the building that there's, if you look at the floor plan, there's a restroom within that corner. And I don't know if that could be reconfigured so that the restroom is on the other end or something so that the door can be relocated, but I'll let the applicant team speak to that and any other options that they've looked at. A little bit out of order, but site map here, just so you kind of understand the lay of the land. I know we looked at this last time around. The pool and pool house are the southwest features that are shown on this aerial. Proposed site plan, we did look at this last time, where of course you can see the changes that are proposed within the pool itself, as well as the additional paved areas around the pool area and pool house. There's also the little all wheels recreation area that's on the southeast corner being proposed, and the paved area adjacent to the north elevation where they would like to use that as some kind of like a dining kind of outdoor kitchen area, if you will. This is a rendering that was submitted for you all to look at, just to give you a better sense of what's actually being proposed within the swimming pool itself. I did meet with Rebecca Cipriano, who's the project manager, and Tracy Wyman from our Parks Department recently to talk about things like the pool steps and just and the diving board and getting clear on what exactly are we talking about. Are we talking those being rebuilt? What's being is being proposed? And they relayed to me that those features are being retained. So that's, I think, good news, because I think as much of there's not that much pool fabric, right? So like as much visual fabric that we can retain to help the pool features translate into the future, I think that's important. But you can see better from this rendering what was being described last time in terms of the ground sloping down as the pool would if you're going away from the steps and towards the covered area on the other end. And let's see, this is just another drawing that was submitted just to give you guys a sense of that the rectilinear shape of the swimming pool will still be there within the site. Because I know that was a question that was presented last time. So I think I covered all of my, I think I covered all my notes in terms of the concerns that I have. I think there's still a lot of information that we don't have because they're not far enough into the design and they can explain how that process works a little better if you would like more information on that. So there may be things that out of their, further their design team working on this more, refining this more, that may need to come back to you. Like, for example, I don't know what the material is of the covered pergola feature at the end of the pool. I don't know if that's, something that the commission wants to review, or if you all are comfortable with staff reviewing those outstanding items. But there's a list of those types of things that I've noted in my report as well that will have to be reviewed at a later time when they're ready. I don't think we talked too much about that last time, but I was kind of interested to know more information about what that would look like. If it's aluminum, is it visually going to change anything from the roof line standpoint? Like, are we going to see that? And maybe it wouldn't be highly visible. I don't know, but I'll let the applicant team speak to that.
Questions for staff?
Sorry, so not the open items, but the ones the doors that concern you the most, it was the
north entrance.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's, if you're in the top right photo is the entrance from the east elevation, a little bit hard to see because let me see if I can navigate to the photos on here. So the top left, This is the entry from the east side, which is like the primary way you'd go in. You'd walk through the site, walk around the building and go in that side. And then the building essentially was designed to have a men's side and a women's side in terms of where you go in and change into your swimwear or whatever. And then on the other side where the pool is, you would come out one of those two single leaf doors. And so my thought was that if you all are okay with the SHPO's feedback on removing the doors and making it an open breezeway, that at least they could leave the openings the same as they are now so that you still from the exterior experience it in the same way as you would from as far as spatially. Does that make sense? Okay.
But then with the north entrance that they want to go to the basketball court, that doesn't exist. They would be creating that, right? But
Yes.
but there's that restroom door right there, and that's what we're wondering if maybe that can be converted to like a entrance.
I think, well, they were proposing to replace that because they want to have an entry into so they want to have an entry into the bathroom and to the rest of the space, which is where the double doors would go, is into the larger space. And, moving that door back on to that rear corner would require them to move the restroom somewhere on the interior, if that makes sense. So, but if you look at the floor plans, it doesn't seem undoable to me to move the restroom. It's this small little corner here, although I guess, it may end up having to be here. It would make it a little bit tricky, I guess. So I'll let the applicant team speak to if there's alternatives for that.
Any other questions for staff? I had a question. The windows were they originally mesh and not glass?
I think that's also another question for the applicant. We don't have a lot of information on the windows. We don't know much about the existing conditions or need for replacement. We haven't really talked through that in any great detail. They're proposing fiberglass windows. So I think that's kind of a good question. Like, we don't know whether the replacement windows would be appropriate either, because we don't know enough about, and again, this is sort of going back to what I was saying before about them not being necessarily far into their design process enough. So.
All right. Anything else from anybody else? All right. Let's hear from the applicant.
Do you want me to be in the slide deck, or do you want to be in your documents? It's easiest.
I think this is a great place to be
Okay.
for now.
Okay, and if you close out here, all of your documents will be listed there, so just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Hi, I'm Josie Ward. I'm the preservation consultant on the design team. We also have representatives from parks and project managers, but I thought I could address a couple of the questions that Alex brought up. As far as the recommendation that the two doors facing the pool on the west elevation remain as two separate masonry openings, that is the plan. That is the plan.
Okay.
So the replacement of transom windows, a lot of them have been boarded over since the 70s, haven't had a window there at all. So a lot of that is required in order to have any sort of window. It's going to have to be new because a lot of them no longer are extant. The north elevation doorway, we're open to glazed double doors, to a central single door, glazed or metal. We're really open to feedback on that. SHPO wanted it to be very clear that it's not an original door. And so that is the plan. The plan is for it to be flush with the wall rather than recessed like the historic doors. But if you all have questions about SHPO's review on the north elevation of those double doors, I'm happy to field them from my perspective. And I think those were all of the notes that I had.
So that north door, when I read it, it sounded like they prefer it to go on the east side. Is that right? East? the old ball field side versus the north side. Is that not how you read it?
So they suggested that it could be not centered, that it could be a single leaf door not centered. If it were to the right side, as Alex said, the floor plan would have to be redesigned because that's where a bathroom is. To the west side, to the right side as you're facing it, that would be possible. We could put a single leaf glazed or metal door.
So it felt like that their concern was that the primary sides of the building were the north and the west, that's the east, right?
This is the east.
Right. So the north and the west are the primary vantage points of where you see it. And so I understood it as having all that programming for a kitchen, outdoor kitchen on the north side. It would be better if it was behind the building on the east side. Or south? Did it say south? South.
South side. Yeah, Parks has been very clear that that part of the program cannot happen on the south side because of a lack of visibility. And Tracy can speak more to that if you want more detailed questions, but it's sort of tucked back and it's a less visible corner of the park. So Parks has been very clear that they want that program to be on the north side. And the question that we have a lot of flexibility is we would love to have a door on the north side entering into that main area, which is going to, be a lot more convenient than people who are gathering on the north side of the building going around one way or the other.
And the purpose of that door is to walk into the building and work at the sink?
Yes, yeah. Or to have any sort of indoor-outdoor flow from the tables on the north side of the building to the activities in that north room.
So, I mean, looking at the SHPO letter, it looks like what they're saying is if it can't happen on the south side, move it down single plane or single sheet of glass, where the restrooms are. Is that possible? Can you get, I know it's going to be a pain in the butt to kind of redesign where the restrooms are. And that also kind of, we don't care as much internally, but we do a little, moving the restroom does change some of the character of the building as well.
Yeah. Can I ask, does it make a difference to this committee whether, so we're looking at placing a door here where the bathroom would have to be removed or relocated?
Yeah.
Or here? From our perspective, it could just as easily be
On the
under
other side?
that window, on that side. And that would not require a redesign.
That's what they suggested, the northwest corner.
Is that the northwest? Yeah, then they said that.
And that would be fine.
Okay, then I think that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? What were the original windows? Were they probably mesh metal and always open?
There was mesh metal over, my understanding is that they were casement windows, but you can't access the windows currently, so.
Okay.
But there is mesh metal over them on the exterior now.
And that parapet material changing from masonry to aluminum, or what is that ledge?
There is not a change to the height of the parapet at all.
Right. But the material that's there now on that cap?
My understanding is that it's just an aluminum cap, but.
Oh, okay.
Not being
All right.
designer, I don't want to.
We'll wait, and then we'll call you up in just a second, then we'll let, did you introduce yourself?
I did.
Okay. Ms. Ward, when she's done. I got lost on that north door, northwest corner. Is it on the north side, the door into the bathroom that you're talking about changing?
Yes, so
So it'd be three doors, a double door and a single door?
this is existing, where is proposed? Okay, this is the proposed. So right now, the existing door into the bathroom remains in a new to code scale bathroom.
Mhm.
The design proposal that Chippo saw was for a double leaf door in the center of that elevation. Should a single leaf door be preferred, that could be right where the double leaf door is now, centered on the elevation, or it could be to the west side of the elevation.
But that's, the SHPO letter said the opposite. It says, the new entry door and associated exterior features might, in order to retain more of the mass of the wall and, sorry. For example, a single leaf door shifted to the east end of the wall with clear glazing would allow the northwest corner of the building to read as unaltered from the primary vantage points discussed above and reduce the prominence of the new feature. So they're saying the opposite. It would have to go towards the back to that east side is what the letter says.
My
So
understanding of that is it's saying, for example, shifting it to a side would give you the majority of an elevation. And so our proposal would be that we could shift it to the west side. You're still getting the majority of the elevation uninterrupted. Also,
You're moving the bathroom to the west side.
we are not moving the
Okay,
bathroom.
you're moving the door to the west side.
Yes,
And it's a single door instead of a double door?
it can be a single leaf door.
And would that change the other side? Or would that be a single leaf door too?
The entrance to the
South?
bathroom, the south is not going to have a door on that side.
Okay.
This is extant.
Okay.
do you, is there like a requirement from code to have the two separate like exterior entrances into the restrooms? Because you've got the one that's within the corridor or the breezeway or whatever, and then you've got that one on that corner. Is that, I mean, it makes sense to me why you'd want to have two restrooms. I'm just asking, like, I know from my conversations with Rebecca and Tracy that there's a desire to have one that's open to the exterior at all times, but do they both have to have that? Because the other one has a door to the exterior too. So that's why I'm asking it just.
Well, the extant bathroom as it is, that's all the way over here.
But if you scroll to the proposed floor plan, that's the other restroom. It's got a door to the exterior too, because that will be an exterior wall, assuming that it's a breezeway, right?
That it's a breezeway, yeah, but if there is some way that the breezeway is locked off, which I understand may be a possibility, I think they want one of the bathroom doors to be on the exterior of the building. And this is an opening that's already extant.
Could that restroom then be moved over to the south east corner of the building and there be a door on that end where it wouldn't be visible?
I'm not following, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. And
I'm talking about in this corner, which you can't see my finger. I'm pointing to this corner. This is the restroom I'm asking about because it would then be open to this breezeway. But then if that's going to be a problem because the breezeway might be closed off, could that be moved to this corner? And I'll let the project manager, when she comes up to speak, she can speak to plumbing or any other challenges with relocating it there. I'm just trying to talk through other options that might.
Because we're kind of going from one door on the north elevation, no doors on the north elevation to three, right?
No. It's just two new doors, but what the SHPO said was a single door moved back to this corner would be okay, because then you're preserving this corner of the building in it, which is highly visible. That's what they said in their letter.
Yeah, I don't see any doors on the picture on the north elevation.
There's not any doors.
And there's going to be three.
They're proposing two, the double
Oh,
doors.
yeah, the double doors and then the one.
And what SHPO is saying is to eliminate the double doors.
Right.
and do a single door farther back on this corner of the building where the restroom is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. The same thing. All right.
So what I'm handing out would be a visualization of the proposal to have the double door, the proposed double center door be a single leaf door to the side, which would not require changing, moving the bathroom. So what you end up with currently on the north elevation, this the best picture we have? This is sort of, I think, the best picture we have of the north elevation on this slide deck. Currently, the north elevation is not uninterrupted. It has a bunch of utilities that are going to be relocated. So in some respects, the elevation is going to be cleared off. Our proposal is that we want some means to access the main area of the building through this elevation. And we are open to discussion, to discussing a single leaf centered or to the side to address SHPO's concerns about a double leaf centered door really changing the elevation too significantly. So what we handed out to you seems like the simplest way to address SHPO's concerns and minimally adjust the north elevation.
And is not fooling with the plumbing and all the other functions. All it does is move the entrance to the side, and it's less of a statement than a center door, center double door. And since these windows are high enough, your doors can fit under. So not changing any of the windows makes sense to me.
You don't care that it's going to be on the most visible corner from the public, that it changes the point of view instead of moving it to where the bathroom is, which kind of recesses it, which involves a whole lot of tinkering inside.
Right, but it also depends, what's your point of view? What if you're over on the basketball court? Then it's no better or worse. I think that's getting really fuzzy.
Yeah, I mean.
In the weeds.
the- When you enter the park, you're looking at the full north elevation, so I don't agree that one side or the other is more prominent or more visible. That is certainly one of the primary elevations of the building because it's the first one that you see, but you see it head on.
I think it's going to be a big improvement, and I don't like the idea of having to move any plumbing and things inside that'll make things more expensive. Like from a building practical perspective, generally it's really complicated to move plumbing and all that.
So the difference between alteration 1 and 2 is glass?
Yep.
Okay.
Solid door or a glazed door.
That would be painted the same color as the wall? And is that Stay Cool, Walton Pool, all that staying?
If the door moves, that part of the mural is probably going to have to change. Or maybe we can paint right over the door if it's solid leaf. That would
Get go away more.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's not. Now, you said the breezeway may shut. Do we have information on that? That the breezeway would close?
Well, there was, at the last HRC meeting,
Yeah.
some suggestion that you guys weren't comfortable with it being a breezeway, so we designed it such that if it were locked off, if the breezeway were not a possibility, that we would have an exterior entrance. If you guys agree with SHPO that the masonry openings not being changed means that the building still reads as a bathhouse, we would prefer that it be an open breezeway.
Possible to make it an open breezeway without changing the masonry?
We're not changing.
Okay, okay, yes, good, good, good,
Just
okay.
removing the doors.
Yes.
Any other questions for Ms. Ward?
So is the mural part of the landmark on this as well? Do we know when that was done, who it was by?
It's modern, 2008.
I was gonna say, it seems fairly recent. Yeah.
One person, we'll get you in just a second. We're going to shut her down.
Okay,
Part of the landscape,
okay, great.
or the landmark.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other? All right, good. Good. All right. Someone else to speak on this?
Hello, I'm Rebecca Cipriano. I am a project manager in capital projects. and this is one of the projects that I'm working on. A little background from the ramping up to this point of the project. We've had a lot of work with the community. Parks has done a fantastic job with this. Part of how we're approaching the building and some of the historic elements is through the community lens and some of the ways that they want to use the building moving forward and keeping it relevant to modern day use, but also the building's very important to them. I know one of the items we've been talking a lot about is the door on the north end, and that was a big item actually for the community, because one of the ways the community really wants to use the building is to be able to prepare food inside and have a good connection with the outside seating area. And so that's the main function of that door, is for that inner connections gathering space with the outer gathering eating space, because that was a big program element that was requested. It was important to them. That's how they like to use the space. Any clarifications?
On the is it an outdoor kitchen? Let's see.
No, it's an outdoor
Grill.
dining area, and there are some grills nearby. So there's no,
Do we have an actual drawing of that?
yes, it's the plan view.
It's what?
That's, there's a plan view drawing on, that's the colored version. Yes.
So what is what on this picture? Can you scroll to that so folks can see?
I'll kind of explain it. So in the center of the area is a brown rectangle, which is representing a community.
Let's hold till everybody can see what we're talking about.
Exhibit B, Will. B as in boy.
So right here in the center of the brown is a brown community table. It's a long table for eating at. The grills are further over here off to the side. And this whole general space is for eating and gathering. These white areas are potentially site furnishings like bar height tables,
Bar height.
what you usually see at the bars.
Okay. I guess we're going to need that eventually to know
I
kind
guess
of.
what we're looking for right now is we're at 30% design, and we need to move forward and know what's okay generally with programming these areas. We are happy to come back later on with some more specifics. We know we will need to as we get further in design. But right now, we're just kind of looking at with broad strokes, like, yes, this is the direction we can continue going, because if we wait until we're 90% and some decisions are made, there's going to be a lot more rework and cost added to the project that wasn't anticipated.
Do we have, is it fair to say that we have 3 door choices for the north elevation then? We've got the one that she gave us on the paper, and then the one that's in the packet with the double doors on the north elevation? Is that right?
There's a double door centered, and then what y'all have in front of you is a single door on the right. And then it's
Alternatives?
just material differences in those. If it's, if it's metal, it could be painted the same color as the rest of the building. Like we said, the paint isn't necessarily historic. It's not part of the historic contribution to the project. It was painted within the last 10 years to kind of spruce things up a bit.
Rebecca, I might have asked you this when we met recently, but do you guys have a timeline for like some of the refinement pieces? Like, you know, if you get the feedback you need on the bigger pieces, right, like the doors and the other site features, would it be 3 months that you guys would come back with like the material for the platform state covered area and that sort of thing? Or because they can do one of two things, I guess. They could approve parts of the application today, and then you could come back with those other pieces. Or you could do another continuance, you know, assuming you have the feedback on the bigger picture things today that you need. I'm trying to help figure out how to proceed. So knowing a little bit more about your timeline would help, I think.
I believe it would probably take, because after we get any sign off today, we have to go to pricing and make sure our pricing's in line with everything, and then go back and make changes and solidify things. So that probably would be 3 to 5 months when we have more information on it. Possibly 3 to 5 months is what I've got for now, because I don't have an updated schedule until we get past this point.
Got it. I mean, are there things like that I know you were just asking about, Chair Hornaday, about the site furniture, if you will, things like that. Are those things that you would be comfortable with staff reviewing?
Yeah, I'm just right now struggling with SHPO's recommendation to lessen that north side and to have that height of the bar size tables there, plus the grills. I'm just having, and then a tree. So it's sort of like maybe the tree helps to block all that off and no one's going to see it anyway. So that's where maybe I'm alone, but maybe let's hear from some other commissioners on that.
Furnishings we were looking at for the bar height is very minimal. So when you would be looking at it, you would pretty much be seeing through it. It's not like a countertop with solid sides or anything like that, because that would be more like a kitchen countertop with the cabinets beneath it. That doesn't work for numerous reasons, but primarily it doesn't work for visibility of the building.
It does seem like the site is kind of odd because and maybe where the basketball court is used to be the parking lot. I don't know, but when you come at it, you're seeing you've always been seeing the less attractive side of the building as you.
Yes, there's all those utilities on it, which are pretty horrendous right now.
Doesn't look like those were there originally on the old, like the 50s pictures. It looks like that kind of shifted over time when more electricity came in. But I agree that lessening the utilities on the north side is good. So if the door moves to the northwest corner of the north side, yeah, then that table and stuff would have to get adjusted a little bit.
Right.
Any other questions for the applicant?
One thing we are doing, and I'm sorry, is, scroll down. So when we enter the site, I think like somebody was saying, it's kind of a weird angle of the building. And what we're doing here is from the parking lot side right here on your far left where it says community sharing, that sidewalk leads you down and takes your vision down to the bottom of the deep end of the pool, basically, where the diving board structure is. And so it's really designed to kind of focus down on that space in that area, to really highlight the historic use of the pool. Which I think is great, because sometimes the building is a little, it's important, but yeah, I think the pool is the most important.
I'm not particularly hung up on the single pane stripping to the west side of that north elevation. I am curious how SHPO would react to like a looser interpretation like that. When they were basically saying the opposite, what would that do to the story?
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of what they said in terms of it being a highly visible corner. But I think it's ultimately you aren't bound by their feedback either. It's really up to the commission
Okay.
to make that call. And if you feel like it's not going to be impact the building detrimentally from a historic character perspective, you can make that decision yourselves. And I do agree that like you all probably have more information from these discussions than the SHPO has, right? They're just looking at this plan set, trying to understand what's happening too. And so like talking through the solid door with the mural painted, like different things like that that might help the door be less visible are things that they're not privy to in their feedback also. So I don't know if that answers your
Yeah,
question.
consider me unbound.
It's a little bit in a gray area, I guess.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
Also, just a general feedback, I don't have any issue with the, like, large masonry breezeway. It's cool.
What was that?
I don't have any issue with the masonry breezeway. I think that's a neat detail. It retains historic.
How does the community feel about the mural? Do they like it?
They haven't commented on it necessarily. We've talked,
It's on this side.
we've talked to them about different art pieces and being able to use the building as a canvas. And that's being explored separately from this project because we felt like the city dictating the art, an artist and choosing it would be better handled if it came from the community.
Do you know who painted this mural, who the artist is?
I think somebody in the city designed it and it was painted by a painter. I don't think it was a hired artist.
And so that mural, the future mural on there would have to come for approval
Yeah.
before it probably shows
Right.
folks to vote
It's not
on.
in our current scope of work.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, what are like your sort of go, no-go items that you need us to give you feedback on for y'all to keep moving the project down the road? So-
We particularly need to know about the door on the north side.
Okay.
The pool also, I'm not sure if we've heard feedback if it's, I think there was confusion last time and we had some clarification with the drawings we provided. So we want to make sure that we're headed in the right direction with that. Preserving the historic aspect of it. We have worked with the community on that a lot and they felt like we were, especially we worked with the angles going down and how deep it should be and different areas where focus points can be. One of the things is, like I said, we're keeping the original edge of the pool, the coping. The diving board location is a monument feature, and then the original steps also. The original step location and steps will be kept. There might have to be minor resurfacing of them, but it's intended to look exactly as the pool steps are now. So some additional design aspects like the steps going into the historic pool house, they're shown as square, but they're still kind of mimicking some of that same historic shape as well. So we're trying to emphasize some of the existing characters that can still convey pool.
So I heard you say that the north door, you kind of need to get that moving along. The pool landscaping, or the landscaping for the pool area, you need that to move along. And the breezeway, I heard. Okay. All right, so we'll talk of that when we talk, and we might call all three of you up. You seem eager to talk. Anything else you want to say, or,
What does that mean?
huh?
So, I know we've had to wait to talk to y'all at these meetings, so what does that mean, like, are y'all gonna push it to the next meeting, or we have a decision?
No, we're going to
for it?
talk. We're going to
Talk
have,
amongst
yeah.
ourselves.
Oh,
The
perfect.
commission.
Okay,
We might call you back up,
that's totally fine.
one of
We're
three.
great.
Or might be more. There might be people here to talk about this.
That'd be awesome.
We have
All right.
public
get it wrapped
comment
up.
after.
We have one more speaker, though. We're going to pull the hook on you.
Tracy Wyman with Parks and Rec. I'm going to be super quick, just because you mentioned one of the three things is the landscaping at the pool. And just to clarify, what the question we understood is the desire for the recess pool area to remain the same recessed pool area. And so that's what we need the answer on. The landscaping.
Hardscaping, I guess, instead of landscaping. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all.
Any questions about pool hardscaping? What we have all right. Anybody else here to speak on this matter about a historic swimming pool? All right, I'm going to close the floor for public comment. Commissioners, the north door, the two alterations, or the original, is there a preference to help that move along? Like, I think a solid door would kind of go away faster
I agree.
with the paint and mural, and also play off the muraling future, it sounds like. So can we,
Double door for the north elevation because it will kind of mirror the east elevation and even the west a little bit, like the symmetry of it being in the middle, the double doors. And that's, they have that incorporated into their drawings for good ingress, egress to the outdoor areas, to the table and everything.
okay?
That's my 2 cents.
Any other comments from commissioners or thoughts on the doors?
So you're saying you want 2 doors? What do you
The
say?
original plan of double doors
double
in the
doors there,
center of the
okay.
north elevation.
Yeah, I think the 2 doors look better, but the SHPO said we gotta minimize that appearance, and the painted door on the metal door on that west elevation is gonna do that.
A painted solid door will make it less obtrusive to the original plan.
I'm leaning that direction as well. I think with the change of with the loss of the pool and the change of the landscape with that, even though we're keeping it as much as possible, we want to try and keep that building really preserved. So I do lean towards SHPO with getting the single door, and I think I like Will's idea of like, if we can keep it solid, actually, it might work better to kind of
Yeah.
make it not, as long as it can be very clearly, not a part of the original. We have to somehow, if there's a way, my suggestion would be that there's a way that they can really make that very understood that it is not part of the original design of the building.
Okay. So I think, is there other comments from commissioners? Then northwest corner or center, I guess, is where we are as a commission. Does anybody else have a different opinion of that?
Is it, yes, northwest corner, so we're not going to mess with the bathroom. We've decided that that is a cost efficient, that we should lean towards the other.
Cost, yeah, that's not under our purview, I don't think, but we're just leaving the bathroom where it is. That's fine as is.
I wonder if the double doors are better for public safety. We're altering the elevation anyway. We're putting a door in. And so I like that there's going to be a mural. It's not the current mural with the brown that comes around the corner. Is there a different mural proposed?
No, they're going to work with the community later and come back later.
Different
So
one.
mural's not part of this.
Okay, so anyway, we're modifying the elevation by putting a door in, so it's almost a moot point what the door does to the elevation because there's going to be a door. And I wonder if public safety is improved with a double door. That's all I was going to say. I don't prefer the single hidden door to the double centered.
With the kitchen being inside, is that something with fire code that we have to be aware of, how much of a egress they need to be able to escape if something happens?
They have to, that's not under our purview. That has to be done by, we don't.
Okay, I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if we're thinking about like
They
public
presented
safety.
the northwest corner, so I'm sure it works
Okay.
as an alternate plan. And I'm still leaning to alternate 2, but there's a number of people who are thinking that the double glass doors would differentiate. Reason I'm staying with alteration 2 is SHPO's recommendation of minimizing impact on that side. And I think it's greatly improved by moving the electric utilities. And I think it would be nice to try and keep it as minimal as we can there. But that's just one commissioner's opinion. So I guess to move this along, unless there's other comments, let's just do a quick straw poll maybe on the double door in the center of the north elevation. Folks in favor of that, let's just raise your hand real quick. So we have, it was your idea. All right, so I think we're going to go with the corner door as a solid piece of material, of metal probably. So the pool hardscaping, is there any comments or issues with what was presented for that?
So is it the diagonal or just what is there around the, because it's not square like the old pool was, even though I understand that's sort of.
The
there, but
recess
not
is
really.
is a rectangle. They just have it angled, but the
Right, that's what I
recess,
mean, the angle instead of straight, like it used to be.
It just looks like.
This pool was square before.
the recess is still the same as the
the
pool.
same
It's just that
The pool still will be the
Yeah.
the original
they
rectangular
just have the
shape.
green space angled, but the actual recess is the same.
They're keeping the original code.
Because
Yeah.
Sue, it's I think it's partly grass and partly concrete as you go down.
Because of that handicap accessibility.
Accessibility.
Right. So that's the old
Red square
footprint.
was the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's not the same.
Not quite the same, but
So in the upper right corner, where you see the shrubbery, that, you're still gonna see the original coping on that far right side. And there's a dip down where that, whatever foliage that is will be. So the recess will still be the same dimension as the pool existed before. The green space is
Okay,
angled
that's helpful.
within that recess.
all right, so is there, somebody have a problem with the pool area? Hardscaping? Okay, I think we're good on that. We don't have to, the breezeway issue of, no? What was the question on breezeway?
They're keeping the doors. That wasn't what was in question, was that they were going to do like garage doors at one point, but they're
Oh.
keeping the doors as is.
Okay. There's some head shaking from the applicant. I'm going to have you come up and tell me what you're,
They were proposing to remove the doors and create
Yeah.
a
A breezeway.
breezeway,
right.
but their initial plan set had altering the door opening on the west elevation. And now they're
That's
saying
not-
they're
that's
not
done
doing
now.
that. They're just gonna leave,
the-
they're leave the openings and take the doors out. So
Right.
that's,
So it's going to remain the same openings, but without a door and an open breezeway that may later have security something, but we're not talking about that. You have a problem with that?
I like it.
All right. So that takes care of breezeway and thing. And so I'm still struggling with the outdoor furniture, and I think since things have changed around, I think if that gets adjusted, can we look at that at another meeting? Okay. Does that check the boxes you need to keep the wheels on the bus moving? Okay. So we're ready to entertain a motion. Wait, I'm going to close
Wait,
the
so
floor, close the.
I'm sorry, so you're saying that you don't want to approve any of the other landscape features? You want them to come back to you for that, is what you're saying?
Just the yellow marked areas on this,
Okay.
where the grill table
the table-
and
eating
tall
area.
tables are, and how that's going to change with the new door moving,
Got it,
so.
okay.
They need to amend the application just to remove that for now. I know they shook their heads from over there, but
Okay, so we're going to need an applicant to come up and say they'd like to amend their application to remove the kitchen, the outdoor furniture from the application. And we move forward with everything else, just so that we can approve this, I think. As stated?
All right, I'm Rebecca Cipriano.
We could get talking. Yeah, thank you.
we will remove the,
You just say as stated, so what we're going to do is remove the kitchen furniture pieces from the north elevation and approve the rest of the application.
we will remove the outdoor furniture outside the north elevation.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Perfect. All right, now I think we can entertain a motion on 570 Walton Street.
Chairman, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A application, owner's affidavit, and project description, 6 pages, Exhibit B, site and building plan, 7 pages, Exhibit C, photos, 2 pages, Exhibit D, SHPO, technical advice letter, 2 pages, received May 12, 2026, Exhibit E, revised plan, 6 pages, received May 27, 2026, Exhibit F, updated application checklist, 2 pages, received May 29th, 2026. Exhibit G, alternative north elevation drawings, received June 10th, 2026, and the Commissioner's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members. I move that this commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for alterations to existing pool house structure, including replacement of existing metal windows with new to be determined Pella fiberglass windows, removal of existing entry doors on the west elevation, construction of new entryway, and installation of new solid painted door on north elevation, removal of existing entry doors on east elevation, replacement of all other pedestrian doors, materials to be determined. Removal of existing concrete ramp and handrail on west elevation and construction of new concrete entry landing, replacement of existing membrane and asphalt shingle, roofing with material to be determined, and installation of 8 36 by 72 inch skylights on roof. Site work including construction of new concrete walkways around pool and pool house, construction of a multi-purpose paved skating area adjacent to south elevation, installation of landscaping, construction of new concrete ramp and walls, AstroTurf surfaced area, public art, and 26 by 18 foot covered stage material to be determined. Within existing pool space, existing pool steps and diving board will be retained and preserved. Demolition of existing pool pump house, demolition of existing pool pump house. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals are required by law, must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the standards for roofs, windows, doors, entrances, and porches, building site, and setting found in the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation were used to evaluate this request. 3, this application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, existing windows are damaged beyond repair. Design, dimension, and material of new windows will match existing as closely as possible. B, existing door openings are being preserved. C, existing rectangular swimming pool shape and dimensions will be retained and preserved. Existing diving board and steps will be retained and preserved. D, new door opening will be on a secondary, less visible elevation, and new doors will be compatible with the building. E, new site features have been designed so as to retain the historic relationship between the buildings and the landscape and are compatible with the historic character of the property. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for the certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the local landmark historic district.
Is there a second? From Vice Chair Oliva.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, revised north and west elevation drawings will be submitted to staff for review and approval. 2, window, door, skylight, and roofing specifications will be submitted for staff review and approval.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. This looks great. Congratulations,
Yeah.
and thank y'all very much for all your hard work on this. we're going to take a quick vote to move 70 Cherokee Road ahead of 3 Angle Street. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Enter Albemarle Park, the crown jewel of the historic districts, the gateway to the squiggly streets. That's it.
Thank you for doing that. I think this one is a much shorter application than 3 Angle Street. So this application is, sorry, let me get to the right slides. Single-family parcel in Albemarle Park at 70 Cherokee Road. This house sits fairly far back from the street, so probably a little bit difficult to see the patio in question if you went by there, especially this time of year. But essentially, the patio is located adjacent to that, the deck that's shown in the covered porch that's shown in this photo, which is the portion of the house that faces the street. And back in 2025, they did get approval to rebuild that patio. This, from a structural standpoint, it's constructed of stone and it really needed to be structurally rebuilt. So they got approval for that. And now, of course, because the drop off from the patio to the ground below is so high, under building code, they need a railing there. And so they're just proposing a metal handrail. When I talked with the applicant, they were looking at a couple of options, including just like a standard square metal railing, but they also looked at this custom railing, which I think kind of has a little bit more of a naturalized appearance. You know, obviously the landscape in this neighborhood is it's very naturalized and does not have any like formal fencing like this. So to accommodate the railing needs, I think this is a great option that hopefully will just recede because it's dark metal and far enough from the road. So I'm not noting any concerns about it.
F.
Confused that the drawing, the elements are vertical, and in the photograph, the elements are horizontal, so I'm not reading it.
Is that on the left, Alex, like the color that we're talking about in the photo? And then on the right, that's how it's gonna look?
Yeah, we'll have vertical pickets, just like a handrail would. This is just the material is on the left.
Laying on a deck.
Yeah, it's just laying down. It's just meant to show what the pieces of metal will look like.
I thought that, because there's also a estimate.
Sorry, there's also some minor siding repair that's needed, and that was just added to this application, so she didn't have to do a separate minor work application, so.
Maintenance. Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much. Let's hear from the applicant.
I'm Jasmine Regan-Porter. This is my house. That's my wall, and hopefully this is my handrail. I don't think I have a lot to add to what Alex said. I'll just see if there's any questions for me.
Any questions for the applicant? Not seeing any. We're going to open the floor for public comment. So that's it. We're good, I think. All right. Anybody here want to speak on this? Great. I'm going to close the floor for public comment. Any concerns on the commission? I'm prepared for a motion, if someone is prepared for a motion.
Chairman, based upon the evidence presented to the commission, including Exhibit A, application and project description 4 pages, Exhibit B, site plan 1 page, Exhibit C, rendering 1 page, Exhibit D, photos 2 pages, Exhibit E, floor plan 1 page, received June 1st, 2026, Exhibit F, material image 1 page, received June 1st, 2026, Exhibit G, siding repair quote, 1 page, received June 1st, 2026, and the commission's actual inspection or review of the subject property. I move that this commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following: that the application is for the installation of a new 1.5-inch diameter custom metal handrail along patio adjacent to front elevation, repair, replace, repaint minor amounts of existing damaged wood siding and trim. All work will be completed in accordance and approved with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals are required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the standards for paths, handrails found on page 32 of the Albemarle Park Local Historic District Landscape Design Standards adopted July 8th, 2015 were used to evaluate this request. 3, the application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, handrail is required per North Carolina Building Code, and handrail will be constructed of a dark-colored material. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Albemarle Park Historic District.
Second.
Second from,
Commissioner Gorman?
I was trying to think, Vice Chair Gorman. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued.
Second from Commissioner Mays. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jessica. Just gotta like go with it.
Get me back on that set right now. Where you going? Okay.
I'm gonna guess. Nope.
Do you need some tech support?
Yes.
Yeah. Aspen. Oh.
Let me see what you're doing. So we'll know. Right. All right. That's good. Yeah, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All righty, next item is, we're gonna shift down to Biltmore Village and go to 3 Angle Street, which is the Cathedral of All Souls property. This application has a lot going on, so I've got a fair amount of slides to get through, but I'm gonna try to go as quickly as I can. There's really 3 main buckets of things here, or 4 really, in some ways. One being, so like just to orient you, hopefully, I know there's some of you that weren't able to visit the site, but we did try to coordinate the site visit because if you went down there and even did a drive-by, you'll see that they still have safety fencing, post-Helene erected around the buildings. And so some of us were able to visit the site yesterday to check it out. So the main scopes here, main parts of the building we're going to talk about the front porch. We're going to talk about the side yard and elevation on the north side of the church. And we're going to talk about some interior walls within the library wing of the buildings where there's some doors and windows proposed for change. And then there's also some mechanical things proposed in a couple other locations on the building aside from the north side of the building. So I'll walk you through those. So the first, there's a couple other things here to talk about that I don't want to get lost in the conversation today, but they're, the building has basement level windows that some are not original, some are not there, I don't think at all, and they are proposing to infill those openings with brick as a future precautionary measure for flooding. They are also proposing to install a new basement level metal entry door or gasketed door on north elevation. And then there's also proposing to do deployable flood wall protection. I still have some questions around that. I support the flood wall protection depending on more information. I don't know what I don't know enough about those systems to understand, like, are there going to be gaskets and then those, the walls are going to be installed immediately preceding a flood event? Or how will that be, like, from when it's not kind of needed standpoint from a visual perspective? I think it would be helpful for the applicant to provide some additional information on that aspect of things. Let's see. The first kind of bucket of mechanical equipment to talk through is certainly one that I have concern about. This, you'll see on the site plan on the right-hand side where the blue on the very far right, the blue rectangle is it's the location of the current, most of the current mechanical units. They did have some of their mechanical equipment in the basement, which flooded, so they're trying to move it all out to the exterior where they can protect it with flood walls. My concern is that if you're like the image that I included is looking at that side of the building from Hendersonville Road. The area is quite large. It's 32 by 16, so it will extend from that side elevation 16 feet. And to me, that will be a big visible change from where you view this church from the street. And you will see it also, of course, from the front elevation because it will extend out, and I'll get to the elevation drawing for that here shortly. I did ask for elevation looking from Hendersonville Road, but like looking at it from the south. I think it was hard because we were in an email chain, but I meant looking at it from the south if you're looking at the building from the more from the south, because they have a straight on elevation for this side where you can see the wall in front of the facade, but not one where you're looking at it from the other direction, because it will come out almost to the sidewalk on that side. And so the mechanical equipment you'll see in the bottom left is shown there. There's would be a 4-foot tall wall around that entire area that would be flood-proofed to protect the equipment. And I understand why they want to do this and maybe not disperse it on the site, but I do feel like this is a highly visible elevation, and I definitely have concerns about this proposed area. So next piece of things to talk through is if you visited the site or read through the plans thoroughly, the floor of the porch has started to sink, and it is damaged and needs to be reset. They're proposing to raise the floor height within the porch. Currently, when you walk up the steps and onto the porch landing, you're then met with a vestibule at the main entryway that is actually historic and was installed by Hunt Son. When you enter into that vestibule, there's a ramp that goes up into the sanctuary space. So there is actually a floor height difference there, but they're proposing to remove the existing vestibule and the ramp, raise the floor height to meet the interior floor height, and add a second step at the base of the entire porch. So this is, of course, another area where I have concern. I do think it will change the visual appearance of the porch. It's subtle in a drawing like this, but essentially the top stair will, instead of being level with the base of the columns, the support columns for the porch, it will then be elevated above that base. So again, subtle in a drawing like this, but I think in real life, it will be a pretty strong visual change. And it's my understanding this is one of Hunt's only church buildings that remains. And so it's not only a landmark within Biltmore Village, but in the larger context of Hunt's work, who was a nationally renowned architect. This building is super important in that way too. And this is obviously like the character defining facade of this building. It's what faces the train station. And the district was designed to be axially aligned with the train station and this building. So I'm just trying to emphasize the importance here of these changes. They did also include a new ADA ramp here. This is looking this is on the left side of the porch if you're facing the entry. So you can see on the drawing on the right-hand side, the ramp would come up on that side of the porch and connect into it there. From a design perspective, I think they've designed it sensitively. It is intended to have brick and limestone to mimic the existing materials. They do, though, have an ADA entry in another part of the building. It just doesn't go into the main entry door. And so I understand from the applicant, like universal access is important to them as a congregation, which I totally understand and support. It just, typically when we're looking at applying Secretary of the Interior standards for life safety and accessibility, we're looking for features like that to be installed on non-character defining elevations whenever possible. So that's just a note on that. Let's see, kind of jumping around here. Just to go back to mechanical stuff for a minute. Let's see. I was definitely putting together my slide deck at the last minute today, you can see. So the little blue square up here, if you can see my cursor, that's going to be the location of a new generator and mechanical unit. I'm not noting any concerns there. I think it's tucked away in a corner. It's not obscuring anything, but there will be a new flood wall there as well. And then there are 2 units proposed within the interior courtyard that will be on platforms. I'm not noting any concerns about that either. I did just say that I asked for more information about the platform, and it looks like from some of the revisions that came in the past week or so that they are proposing them to be like a kind of like a standard pad, not like something that would be built, if you will. Let's see. And then the last main thing for me to cover, and then I'll get out of the way, is to let the applicant speak. These are the window and door opening changes I was mentioning. So they are proposing 2 accessible restroom areas within this wing of the church. And so they need to accommodate accessible entry into those spaces, and the doors aren't wide enough. So there are some proposed changes here, and just some photos to give you some idea of what the existing conditions look like on that side. On the bottom photos are what we're talking about on that end. So I don't necessarily have any concerns about those modifications since they're not going to be highly visible. But I'm interested to hear the commission's thoughts on that.
And that's the flood line you can see there for those in the audience. Any questions for staff?
You probably said that this outdoor barrier for the utilities on Hendersonville or on Biltmore Avenue, is that, how tall is it?
4 feet.
And that is to get all of the mechanicals up.
And 60 feet long.
Right.
So he said
30
16,
32 feet.
32.
Yeah, 32 feet wide and 16 feet, however way you want to think about that, 36 feet long and 16 feet coming out from the side elevations, if that makes sense. So I think I did,
Tall.
I thought I had that. No, I didn't include it in my slide deck. Oh, wait, no, maybe I did. There it is. So you can see in the elevation drawing, here's that wall coming out. If you're
Has
looking
there
at the
been
front.
any other talk with the applicant about alternatives to this? I mean, because
I mean, I did mention this as a concern when I met with them, and I think they have looked at alternatives, but this is their preferred layout. They've got I think there's a alternative layout in their plan set, but I don't know that it went into as much detail as I think it just showed the alternative locations, not kind of like what it would.
It was like sparse, like dividing it around the site, so it wasn't all in one location.
Sometimes these longer documents won't load, but I'll see if I can get to that page.
being so visible.
So don't know exactly like what the, I mean, it still looks fairly big. I don't know, you know, what the dimensions of that would be as far as what would be visible from Henderson Mill Road. Then there would be two, and I understand why they want to do the wall, but obviously having shrubs is like a very different thing than adding a whole other built feature within the landscape. I think if it were like much narrower and the wall were up close to the building, then maybe it wouldn't stand out so much, but it's a pretty big area to wall off on that side, so.
Other questions for staff? All righty.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Okay. Can I put in my HDMI? Yeah. This is no new material, it's everything you guys have already seen, but, so I'm not as good at navigating the different exhibits the way it was broken up, but I think it will help, because there is a lot going on. Hello, my name is Jenny Gwynn. I'm a partner and director of historic preservation with Beyer Blinder Bell Architects, and we're the architects that have been hired by the Cathedral of All Souls for this rebuilding following the Hurricane Helene devastation. I thought I would start with a little bit more context of some of the specific things that Alex touched on. You all may have questions. Is that helpful, or do you want me to respond to questions that you have now?
Just go ahead and deal with Alex's issues.
We'll start with the flood mitigation concerns. And the reason that the enclosure is so large is because of the backflow preventer. So for those of you who did go and visit the site, you saw how high up the water got. And this is despite the fact that no part of their property is actually within the 500-year floodplain. But they experienced this. They have been out of the church this entire time. By the time that we are able to actually start construction, complete construction, they will be out of their place of worship for over 3 years, which is obviously devastating to a congregation. And they don't ever want to be in that position again. And so that is why the driver for all of this that we're doing is risk mitigation. They are also installing a sprinkler system because they want to mitigate that devastation risk. And so we are going above and beyond what is required for flood protection. And part of that is also because it is a volunteer organization. They do not have a full-time maintenance staff and someone who could go out and put in a deployable system. And so in terms of the flood mitigation measures, it really needs to be passive flood mitigation, which means that are things that are permanently in place and don't rely on volunteers and members of the congregation to come. The congregation did as much as they could, and they actually were able to save quite a bit of the interior work because of Helene, because of quick thinking, but we wanted to have things that didn't rely on galvanizing and a lot of staff and maintenance work. We did look at a range of options, and so you can see here these are different flood mitigation strategies that we explored for different parts of the cathedral. The main driver of it is that they did have their boiler as well as a lot of other equipment in the basement, and they don't want to have any other equipment in the basement again. So our charge was to make sure that all of the new critical infrastructure for HVAC and electrical was above the flood line and protected. Also, they are installing a backflow preventer, and because they are installing a sprinkler system, that is why the clearance that is required from a city for the incoming water and to service the new sprinkler system that will be installed is quite significant in size. I also do want to, point out one other thing just for clarity, that this is a phased project. I just want to, you look here, only the building outlined in yellow is going to be part of this phase one because of the need to raise funds for this work. We did initially look at all of the work that needs to be done, and for costing purposes, we're looking at this phase one work to get them back in their worship spaces as soon as possible. So we will not be talking about the education wing or the parish hall today. So here's an illustration of the different flood mitigations that we're deploying across the site. There is no one sort of one fits all. We do need to have, like I said, some permanent flood barriers for the critical infrastructure. And we selected Henderson-Vendel Road elevation because, well, we didn't really select it. We didn't have a choice because that's where the incoming water is. So we didn't have too much of a choice. But it actually works out well because it's on Henderson-Vendel Road where people are not really walking by. It is, quite high-speed driving by. And so in terms of meeting the guidelines for Biltmore Village and not wanting to make, significant changes to the front, we thought it was advantageous that that was on a not primary facade of the building. We are installing new flood doors where there already are replacement doors in place at the basement level. And then where there are doors and threshold areas where we don't want to have a permanent barrier in place, such as this door here where it exits the sacristy, this rear entrance to the cathedral and the library, that's where we're installing a deployable system, which Aquafence is one vendor of that. And so to Alex's question about sorry. Oh, I guess it's E, sorry. So what would be in place at those locations where we have what we're calling the deployable system is the permanent installation of these gaskets, and this is something that's been used nationwide for a number of years at other National Historic Landmarks and nationally registered listed properties. This is a terrible photo because it shows it going into the field of the stone. We would anchor into the joints so that this is reversible as possible. The gaskets are 3/8 inch in diameter. And so that would be, and they are spacing, we have shown here, they're about 18 inches apart. And so this would be the number of gaskets that would be needed at the front porch. And we also have exhibits in Exhibit C that show the spacing at the location here to protect the garth, the library, and the rear entry to the cathedral. It does require vertical installations as well. Obviously, it needs to have a seal to the wall, and so these same gaskets would be installed vertically. Again, we would install those in joints in the masonry rather than in the field stone. So I apologize that the manufacturers doesn't have historically sensitive photographs.
So is that just one at the end to hold it, a button?
Yeah, so it's a gasket, and so then what happens is this this deployable system is stored somewhere on site or off site, but they would enter into a maintenance agreement with a company that would come and put those up whenever there was a threat of flood. And but all you see on a typical day when it's not deployed are just these 3/8 inch gaskets.
When you say deployed, that's just a receptacle for something they carry over to the site and install?
This is the photo below here is the flood wall in place. And so basically what it does is that you're putting up a temporary flood barrier whenever there is an imminent threat.
Right. Somehow I thought that the shield was in a spool and it comes up from that hole.
There are, if you had an insane amount of money, there are options that you could have a hydraulic lift, do something. That is not at all what we're proposing here.
Okay. It's just to hold
But yeah,
the
so
thing
this
that
is
they
just so that it is anchored and structurally sound. And so then they come in and they put up the vertical stanchions and then they slide in these gasketed parts of the barrier.
There's vendors in Asheville that do that?
Yes. Aquafence is nationwide, and even before we were on board, they had conversations with the cathedral and others in the village as well.
I understand now. Wow.
Are there any questions about that part of the flood mitigation?
How many of those gaskets go on the verticals and it's just on the two ends, I guess, or?
Yeah,
Yes, it's only where, so in this, it returns here, and they have to have the same vertical spacing, and we're going up to, and also, just as a note, we have.
It should be 3 or 4 tall.
Yeah, Yes, the number of gaskets, yeah, there'd be 3 or 4 in the wall. And with those, when we say flood line, we are designing everything to be 1 foot above the Helene flood line at this site. So that is when we say we're designing to be above the flood line, that's what we're mitigating for, is the flood that they
If you're
experience.
doing this, why are you raising the floor of that porch?
To raise the floor of the porch. Those primarily get into the use of the porch, the egress issues with the porch and the accessibility, but it does offer flood mitigation because if you all are familiar with the National Park Service guidelines for flood mitigation that came out last year, they very wisely note that you don't want to assume that no drop of water is going to get through. And so anything that you can do to change, to move back from your critical threshold for interior finishes, anything that you can do to move that away from your threshold will provide sort of that extra barrier. And so
So how high was the Helene flood above what you're raising the floor to?
significantly, the driver for
20
raising
inches? I just want to know, how high was that suntan line from where
Here, so
you're
we-
raising the porch floor to?
significantly. Here, the blue line is the flood line, and the floor with the raised floor, we're only raising the floor 9 inches. But what that does do is that we're already at a higher, for flood mitigation purposes, the higher elevation is occurring not at this door, but it is occurring back at the step. And so therefore, we're not, having the same level of water here that we have here, if that makes sense. But the primary driver for raising the floor of the porch is not flooding, but it does help mitigate flood. It is an additional flood mitigation measure.
What's the other reason for doing?
Besides
for raising the
ADA.
porch while we're talking?
I will say, this is a big change. We completely understand this is the only remaining Richard Morris Hunt church in the world. And so we didn't undertake this lightly. But the church does not, if you look here at the plan, it does not have a narthex.
Doesn't have a what?
It does not have a narthex. So traditionally, a lot of churches, you enter in and you have a small vestibule space. All Souls doesn't have that. Their porch really is their narthex. That is where they are queuing to process in. That is where, when Sunday services are over, they are greeting with the priest. And so this is really a gathering place. The porch is not just an architectural feature. It is over 800 square feet of large space that they wanted to be able to use and be accessible to all of their congregants for that gathering space. On top of that, it doesn't meet code. Currently, there is an 8-inch step from all 3 of these doors. Because we are installing a new sprinkler system, this project has to be considered a level 3 alteration, which means that we have to bring the entire project fully up to code. You can't have doors egress to a 9-inch fall off. Also, it's a major tripping hazard. As we started talking to the congregants, multiple choir members flagged to us what a tripping hazard it is when they process in. And so we're looking at the fact that we have to reset the floor anyway because it's settled as a result of the damage from the flood. And so why not reset it at an elevation that addresses all of these very significant concerns of use, life safety, egress, and tripping hazards for an aging congregation? We are, for the same, if you heard, as Alex stated, there is a vestibule that was added a year after the church was consecrated. Vanderbilt felt a draft and asked his architect, can you do something about that? And I think that they may have been under a little bit of pressure to get it done quickly. And so they added the exterior vestibule that those of you who saw yesterday that were on site, that really bisects this space. And that was not the original design intent. I'm gonna Here's Hunt's original design, and you can see the porch is open, and I really do think that that was a really important part of the original design for this church, is the contrast between this massive masonry tower and this very solid building and this open porch. And so even though it was added only a year later, and it, as all additions do, it has acquired some historic significance, I do think that it is not in keeping with the original design intent, and we are proposing to remove it, catalog it, store it on site so that it's a fully reversible change, but remove that so that it is a more usable narthex and vestibule for the church.
And does this let you get rid of an interior ramp?
Yes, the ramp that is nowhere near code compliant. So if you went yesterday, you also saw that in order to mitigate the step up years ago, they do have a ramp within that vestibule. It also is not code compliant, it is much steeper, and you're not allowed to have doors that outswing over a ramp anyway. It has to be a level surface. Start with the rendering, and then I'll walk you through. I think some of these colored illustrations may be easier. So this is what we're proposing. I do want to clarify that we are not raising the porch above the limestone base. At the columns, you will still very much read the limestone base.
Are you replacing, raising the limestone base with the floor? Taking it off and putting it,
No, we are,
You're
at
covering
the
it.
back, we are removing the limestone base. Here, let me get to the
right,
colors.
right, against the wall?
Yeah. So yes, it is not without modification. So this is, on the left, we have a section with the existing condition, and we have a plan with the existing condition, and on the right, we have the proposed change. And so we are proposing to add a new step. We're salvaging and keeping the others, but the column height will remain, and we're adding the new step here, and so we'll still have the legibility of this limestone base. Sort of what first made us think about this, aside from ourselves sort of tripping into the ramp, was this is the settlement that has occurred. So regardless of any work, we do have to entirely reset the floor. And so we see this as an opportunity to really address some of these concerns. So here we are at the back, we are removing the limestone base. We did think about putting it back up and potentially having that shorten the stucco infill from the brick, but as you all noted in your previous review, we do think it is more in keeping with the Secretary of the Interior standards to not put it back exactly as it would have been, and to sort of have that tell that a change has happened here. So that is a preservation decision that we made, but the limestone base could go back if others felt strongly about that. And so here's the same view that we were just looking at, but you can see here we've removed the base, and then here's the ramp that we're adding. And like I said, it's really important to the church that everyone have access to this porch for their for their weekly functions, so that congregants are able to enter and egress that way. There is a somewhat compliant, it isn't fully compliant because of the threshold way to enter the back of the church, but there's no way to get to the porch without that. And I also think as the congregation ages, and also thinking that this is the cathedral for the entire Southwest Diocese of North Carolina, they have guest priests coming frequently who may need to use this. And with being an Episcopal church, the processional is a large part of the service in every single week. And so being able to have anyone participating in the service be part of that procession in and out, I think is really important, which is why we wanted to make sure we had the ramp access for anyone who may need that in the future. Also, as Sarah was pointing out, they do have an aging population, and there's currently no way to get a stretcher in or out of the cathedral. And so this would be other ways to make sure that they are able to get in and out in emergencies.
But the ramp could be done without raising the porch?
Yes, we did study that. It is a longer ramp, but we did look at ramp options. We looked at ramps in different configuration, but you could ramp, but then you'd have to have another ramp once you were at the porch level.
To get into the building.
To get into the building, yeah. The finished floor height inside is 9 inches higher than the historic porch elevation. We did look at, do you try to do ramps at all 3 doors in order to meet code? And that just seemed crazy to me, the size and that you were giving up, and the fact that you would also have to have handrails on that, I thought was very visually disruptive, even more so than the vestibules that there. But we did look at quite a few options, and we feel that this is the most in keeping with the historic fabric and the least conspicuous option.
Any questions for the applicant about the porch or ADA ramp? No. All right, so the doors and windows in the education wing? Or did you say you're not?
No, we are doing that.
Okay.
It's the library wing, not the education wing.
Okay.
So again, early on, the charges to us were to improve the accessibility throughout the campus, and part of that is to make sure that they have centrally located restrooms that meet ADA compliance. They do currently have ADA, or they had prior to the flood. For those of you who weren't on the tour, they have had to remove all finishes from 5 feet down, and there's nothing left on the interior except for the cathedral and the parish hall. So it's everything is going to be a significant investment to put back. But they didn't have something centrally located near the cathedral. And so what we have proposed is that we are reconfiguring and installing multi-user restrooms here in this part of the 1950s addition, which is the library wing, and installing a single-user restroom here, as well as subdividing this space to provide offices.
Changing size? Some?
We have to cut down, where possible, we're just cutting down the windows to make it reversible and in keeping with the Secretary of the Interior standards, so that it will turning what is a window into a door, but we're not widening it. We are just cutting that width down. These are the existing restroom doors. Previously, in order to meet ADA compliance, a number of the doors in both the 1950s wings were widened by 3 inches from their historic in order to meet the width required. And so what we're proposing is to do that exact same treatment. There are some locations where there is an existing door, but it doesn't meet the required width. And so we would do a very similar treatment to what had been done at a number of the other doors previously in the 1950s wings. So to take you through here, let me. Here we have the, Here we have the existing library wing in elevation. So that's looking at this space in elevation. And we are proposing to take this window, which is here, cut it down, but not change its width, and install a new door. Here, there is an existing door, but we need to widen it by 3 inches in order to meet ADA. And again, this is a treatment that's been done in, I think, 8 other doors previously in the 1950s. And so this would be what this elevation would look like afterwards. At this end, we're installing the new multi-user restrooms. We do have to make an entirely new opening. This is not, this is not facing any primary facades. This is really what would be an interior courtyard if it didn't have this wonderful design of this open campus. So it's not visible from any streets, but we would put a panel door to match the other panel doors on campus, and then we do have to widen this already existing door in order to meet ADA. What you're seeing here, there's a gate that they installed for security reasons, and that would remain in place. The other changes to the education and library wings, there's a wall that has had some settlement issues on the interior that we have to rebuild. Sorry, I thought I wanted to show you. to go out of screen. We're installing interior storm windows for energy efficiency as well as insulating the exterior walls from the interior. Again, no visible changes from the exterior. Here we are, this slide. So this is showing the current condition of the walls, and so we're filling out the walls with new insulation behind the new finishes, and then there'll be interior storm windows on the library wing.
Any questions on the library wing doors and windows for the applicant? Okay. Did you talk about the mechanical units?
I was just getting ready to
Okay.
pull up. I know that we have a very large wall that is getting built, and I'm sure you guys have lots of questions, so I was going to pull up those. So as you all had noted before, as Alex showed, we did look at multiple different ways of locating the equipment, and we felt that a consolidated approach rather than having the same flood wall application at multiple sites around the campus was advantageous. And so that's why we're proposing to have the more consolidated approach. And either approach, this, because it houses the backflow preventers in addition to mechanical units, it is quite large. I'm not going to try to pretend that it's not huge. It's 32 feet by 16. It is larger than we would have wanted, but it does allow us to keep all of the units below the height of the windows, which we felt was really important, both from the street view and the exterior view, as well as from your interior. And so that was one of our other considerations as we were looking at all these flood mitigation measures, is because of how important this cathedral is and all of the elevations. We really didn't want to just put the units up as high as we can. That's, I think something that has been acceptable in Biltmore Village on like the back of the buildings for things like that, but that just wasn't appropriate here. We needed to be below the window so that we're not blocking the stained glass windows. And so that is why we're not stacking units or anything crazy and creative like that with ladders. But unfortunately, the city is requiring the code required access to the backflow preventer that has to be located in this location, because this is where the incoming water source is. And so this is as consolidated as we have got with meeting the code required access for all of the different units in this enclosure. The view quite a few years ago before the flood. This vegetation has since grown in, but you can see that they always had units here. The photos that we have near, because they had removed the damaged units from Helene, it's just the pads that are in place. But there were always, from Hendersonville Road, if you wanted to slow down and look, quite a few very visually obvious items on this elevation, as well as incoming electrical panels that were just surface mounted. So we see this potentially as an opportunity to clean this up. Our goal is to get all of this surface-mounted conduit and boxes off the historic facade. Our bathtub is a four-sided box. We're not using the cathedral wall as a flood wall, and so we're purposely staying off. But you can see here, we're going to have a gap. We're not engaging with the historic facade at all, so it's fully reversible in keeping with the Secretary of Interior standards. And we're not relying on that for any flood mitigation. So that allows us to get all of that equipment and conduit and locate it on new concrete enclosure. So here we have an elevation. The blue is the flood line, and this is our new concrete wall that we're cladding with complementary brick. And so this is if you're standing outside the wall. And we do plan to also install new landscaping so that you're not looking just at the wall. We do recognize, as Alex pointed out, it does get quite close to the sidewalk, but we will do what we can to screen it with landscaping. Oh, sorry.
Any questions about the mechanical, that section of mechanicals?
I like to talk about it.
Talk.
The backflow preventer is going to be horizontal, and
Yes.
that's outside the wall, and you say it's heated?
No, not heated.
I thought it said heated.
Something said heated over there. I think it,
Backflow.
Heat pump. I think we also have to, I think it may be the heat pump
No, there
units.
was something else.
Yeah, it said there was a note on the other sheet that said heated enclosure or something.
No, heated backflow, which was curious to me. And I just wondered, what would it be like if you put that along under the floor in the basement?
You're not allowed to. The code in Asheville will not allow us to put the backflow preventer in the basement. I would love to.
Yeah.
We did meet and have had our preliminary meeting with the city to see if there's anything that we could do. Obviously, all of us would love to put this equipment somewhere else, but current code will not allow us to put a backflow
Just haven't
preventer.
heard of one outside, so I
Maybe
thought.
that's why it's heated.
Right, so I just wondered, yeah,
It says on page 15, heated backflow preventer enclosure.
Maybe that means the enclosure.
It's, sorry, this is the original plan set, so it might be on a different page, but maybe not.
We're not heating the full enclosure, but it does they do have to make sure that it doesn't, obviously freeze. But it's not the entire enclosure that is.
Jenny, in this layout, what would be the dimensions of that larger area, do you think? Because it doesn't look that much smaller.
No, that's the whole point. It's not. Because it has to have a backflow preventer, it doesn't really get much smaller. It does get slightly, we don't have the two heat pump units here, and so I think it's about 3.5 or 4 feet more narrow as opposed to being 16 feet. I believe it was roughly 12 feet. But it is still quite long because of the required equipment and the layout and the way you have to have electrical separate. The other thing is that the fire department needs to be able to come in and check these. And so we actually have to have an enclosure within our enclosure to protect the backflow preventer. And so that's the clearance that you're seeing here. We're trying to negotiate that, but I don't think that's negotiable. But yes, in this option, it is still this width, but it is not as deep.
Questions about mechanicals?
And there's no flat roof area for these.
No, it's a lovely tile roof everywhere. It's gorgeous. And the other big change that they're making is an investment in the most energy efficient systems that they can, and all of that requires outside air. And so we can't also, even if we looked at putting it in the attic, but the idea of popping vents in the facade, I think, was much less palatable to all of us.
Jenny, could you, the mechanical unit that's on this alternative, could it be moved where the HP one is? Could both of those be located there instead of that being there, and then it could get smaller from
Put
that?
this here, but so if this is here though, then this is another wall, another 4-foot wall, and so.
Or it could be landscaping. I mean.
No, it can't be landscape. This has to be flood-proof. So if we're trying to not have the church buy all new equipment the next time it floods, the idea is that.
I understand what the goal is. I'm just saying, nobody else in the district has flood walls like this. And so unfortunately, most of them are screened with landscaping or fencing. And so that's more typical is what I'm saying is if you could put the mechanical units over there and maybe there's 2 that have shrubs, or 3 that have shrubs that screen and this area can get smaller. I don't know if that helps, but I'm trying to talk through alternatives that we might.
On those commercial heat pumps, when they're in that larger enclosure, the 32 by 16, could you flip the 2 units so they're on that left side, single unit on that right side, and then bring that, kind of cut that corner off so you could have more shrubbery around it? Does that make sense?
I think there's a electrical meter on that side, right?
There's electrical here.
So code dictates that it can't be that.
But we have really been trying to push our mechanical engineers to be as efficient as possible. I'm not going to say there's not an inch or 2 that we can gain back, but I also didn't want to promise you all something that we couldn't achieve. And so this is what we think is achievable now, but we will do everything we can. And like I said, it does involve coordination with the city and their access requirements for inspecting the backflow preventers.
Sorry. Do we know if this was the first time the building flooded or if it flooded in?
No, it had water up to the porch level before. I believe it was at 23.
Every 20 years. Well, no, but there's even like so 2004, there had been previous, like there's historically instances where it has gotten up to the porch level, yes.
So in those floods, everything was ruined in the basement, or no? And maybe you're not the person that asked that. I'm just wondering about yeah, like I mean, some of this is about like probabilities. So I was just wondering what that.
I think that is, they're, from a risk mitigation standpoint and the level of investment, they're not wanting to be in a situation, again, of not being operational. And so I do think that a lot of this is driven by a desire to not be where they are now. But yes, you're accurate that this is not code required based on where they are with the current FEMA maps. FEMA is obviously going to update their maps. But I do think regardless of the guidelines for all historic buildings are to try to get your equipment out of the basement. I mean, that is good practice, and so I don't think that they're doing any, I don't think that getting their equipment out of the basement should be considered going above and beyond. I think that's what everyone should be doing. But, does it, are there things that we can do to mitigate the impact on the site? I understand the concern.
Any other questions about mechanical?
How tall are, like on that, I like how you provided the Google Street View with the individual condenser units or compressor units. How tall are those, like 3 feet or so?
The units, yes, they're about 3 feet.
The old ones, yeah. And then and then the current one will be about 4 feet and the wall will be there, in theory.
Yes, so in terms of like visually what you're seeing, it's not radically different than what you would have seen before.
But I think one of my colleagues just pointed out that those kinds of backflow preventers or enclosures rather are required to be 60 inches tall. So that's pretty tall, much taller than the units that are there. So.
And I just had a question. The backflow preventer, is that a stormwater code requirement? Because there are variances allowed for certain stormwater requirements, but if it's a code requirement, then you couldn't seek a variance for.
We cannot seek a variance for it in Nashville, no.
I have another code question about the front porch. And when you said the doors are not code compliant, like that, there's that 8-inch drop. When you say that, does that mean, like in the sense of it technically doesn't comply with code, or does it mean the city is going to make us do something about this before approving the plans?
Yes, so because it is a level 3 alteration, we would need to get a variance from the city in order to go back with the current installation. We could seek a historic variance, but given the nuisance that this has been to the congregation for over 100 years, they are not seeking that variance.
There's
Sorry,
not a
can you just-
variance required. It would be a call for our building safety or chief building safety officer to make. We've run into this before, like with the YMI building, they have similar entry door issue where their doors open onto a step that is coming up off of the sidewalk. But there are exceptions under North Carolina Building Code for historic buildings, so.
No, no, seems like sometimes I've seen at these churches, what they do is basically make some of the doors emergency only doors where there's no ingress, and then they only have to address one door to bring it. Now, I don't know if that's an ADA, how that interacts with ADA issues, but, so that's my second question, which is anything that's being done on the front have to be done because of the ADA? Or is it?
No, very good question. That approach is something that other churches have done, of only making one door ADA. They do use all 3 doors on a weekly basis for people who are coming in, people who are processing in. It's actually interesting, the 2 doors on the side were originally windows, and then they were cut down to be made into doors at some time that I'm not exactly sure of the date. And so those have already been modified to be doors.
But the church could look at, if they were trying to provide ADA compliance to the porch, they could have a ramp that came up to the porch, and then we could provide a single landing with a ramp coming off to the side. I think that's very disruptive visually to the space.
Describe that again, what would it look like?
So if we had a ramp design that, like we have here, that comes up and lands here, but we didn't raise the level of the porch, you could provide a 4-foot wide, 4-foot deep opening here, have a secondary ramp, which would require a rail in order to then provide ADA access to just this, just this one door.
But if you didn't raise the floor, you wouldn't have to take the vestibule out, correct? And you still have the ramp, right?
The ramp doesn't meet code compliance. The ramp that's there is like a 14% incline. It doesn't meet code.
And it can't because the vestibule's not deep enough?
Correct. To install a ramp that meets code would require us to have a 1 to 12, and so we're looking at sort of an 8-foot long ramp along this elevation, and so it really impacts the visual understanding of this, what's supposed to be open porch, and also, as you're looking at the porch, you're seeing that railing and elevation as opposed to seeing the historic front doors, and then you have this sort of disruptive railing entrance where you're trying to tell people, come in, you're welcome, but you're met by railings.
So so there is no way to keep that vestibule where it is and have an ADA compliant ramp inside it?
Correct.
I think I would suggest that it would be a good idea for, at the next hearing, have testimony from our building safety staff on this topic.
From who?
Our building safety staff.
Kind of a general question. It's about, like, I guess, does the ADA requirement, does that trump like historic preservation, or does historic preservation like trump the ADA requirements? Is there, I guess, in law or in practice?
I think that's why we need our building safety staff to come and talk to us, because they know where the code meets the design requirements. And I haven't had an opportunity to meet with them to talk about this project either. Like, normally we have an early assistance meeting, and I couldn't be at their early assistance meeting with building safety, unfortunately. So I think there needs to be more information gathered on this topic to bring back to the commission.
And there are circumstances where variances are allowed in historic properties, so that's why I asked the question about the backflow preventer. It may be as well for the ADA. That would be something that we should.
And then while they're here, we can squeeze them for some, variance.
I do want to state that regardless of what the code in the city requires, it is the congregation's desire to have an accessible front entry to their church. And so I welcome that conversation. I certainly want to hear from others, but it is the congregation's desire that any person coming to worship can come in the front door and can be a part of their gathering after the services on their front porch.
I wanted to ask how important the vestibule, or having a vestibule, not this particular one, but having one, since Vanderbilt thought it was drafty and he had that put on, how will the environment be with the thing taken off?
Excellent
You'll
question.
have new weather stripping on the front doors?
No, and so actually what we included in your package are some of the original drawings for during the design phase. The firm, Richard Moore Tun's firm, actually did explore interior vestibules. And this is just one of the sketches that we found in his collection at the Library of Congress. And so that's what we're exploring with the church currently. Yes, certainly from a sustainability perspective, we need to be able to have an airlock. We don't want to spend all of this money on these incredibly energy efficient systems and then just have that draft feeling. And so that's what we're exploring in order to restore the porch to its original open installation.
Any more questions for that? Any more comments from the applicant? Or I think, or,
I will just say, we are similar to the Parks team, understanding that you probably are not going to issue go build this, here's your COA today. We are planning to submit for permit in September, and it would be very helpful to my team, as we tried to guide the congregation in their decision-making and fundraising process, to have some feedback on these different aspects of the project that are very
Yeah.
important cost drivers.
I think maybe the State Historic Preservation Office might need to get involved on a project this big on advising, the same as they did with parks on the swimming pool, on how the front porch, how the mechanicals, and how the vestibule, and the doors and windows in the library, how that can look. Alex?
It's up to you all. I do want to point out that in this case versus the other case, which we're solely relying on the Secretary of the Interior standards.
Yeah.
You do have specific standards in Biltmore Village that apply. Number one, avoid removing or altering any historic material or significant architectural features. Book 2, number 3 on page 6, and also number 12 on page 8. Preserve older alterations that have themselves achieved historic significance. And page 10, number 17, locate utility cabinets and service areas away from, skipping that. Locate equipment in the rear of the building. And then page 23, number 48, locate utility cabinets and service areas away from the view of the primary facade.
Yeah, and I wonder with the flooding that was fresher than it was when that was written, if some understanding, and things have changed with the National Park Service too, or the Secretary of Interior, on how flood is addressed since 1980, right?
I don't know if the Park Service actually issued last year a whole guidelines of interpretation of the Secretary of Interior specific to flood mitigation.
Right, and I guess I'm saying that you still would have to meet these standards even if you're trying to incorporate flood mitigation. Like that, these aren't like optional things. So,
Well, and I don't know the answer to this, but what I'm struggling with is and I think this is the first time this has happened since I've been here. What happens when those standards directly conflict with some, with code or with the ADA? And, do we risk what happens do you put an applicant in a position where they, cannot legally reopen and use a building, which would be the most tragic thing. So.
no, I don't think that's the goal here. I think that's why I made the suggestion that we would have someone from building safety come and help you guys understand what the requirements are.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. And this is really too complicated to cover in one session. As opposed, do we have to take a vote on whether to solicit input
We're
from
still
SHPO?
we still got to listen a
No.
little bit, but then we would
Just make a motion, you would make a motion to continue the
continue to the
application to a date
next,
specific.
whenever staff is available for, or would they, we'll figure it out.
Is there any other owner representative who has something to say, or?
I want to say that I think it's really brilliant bringing up the floor and adding a step, and the base of the column, reducing its height doesn't impact the look. There's no top to the columns. It's not like they're special column bases. I think it's the minimum change for visually to the front of the building is by bringing the step up, and it solves so many problems. I don't want you to hear only negative things from us. And I think that that's pretty amazing that you came up with that and that the ramp works with it.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, we're going to need to swear you in. Anybody else here who wasn't sworn in? Who's going to speak tonight? I'm looking behind you, Ben. Oh.
I think you're here for other items.
Yeah. Yes.
Then let's swear you in. If you'd raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank y'all. Now we can trust you.
So a couple of things. I wanted to give a little bit of a background when it came to Aquafence. I actually contacted them very quickly after the storm, mainly because I'm originally from Central Florida. And if y'all watched the news during that time, Tampa General Hospital was in the news big time because, of course, they sit right in Tampa Bay. And they took 2 hurricanes in 3 weeks, and they didn't take on any water. Not any water at all. So I was looking into them, and the fact that you don't have to surround the entire property, that you can deploy it in certain areas, I thought was really kind of a neat thing. And these things, they fold down, and so you can put them in a storage, shed pretty easily and then have somebody come and deploy them. So I just wanted to let you know that when it came to that part of it. And of course, we're learning all kinds of technology around here about flood prevention. I also wanted to say, like I see in this rendering, honestly, it's beautiful. The idea of having a ramp that's so well integrated and the porch being raised it's so similar in the aspect to what we have today, but of course becomes incredibly resilient in that people can come, right? You can enter the front door, anybody can, whether you're on a cane or a walker, or frankly, whether you're a mom pushing a kid in a, in a stroller, everybody gets to enter through the front door. This is a big issue. Obviously, this is a church. This is God's house. I appreciate that Richard Morris Hunt designed it, but Lord, it's God's house, friends. You know what I mean? And I also want to say that, my wife and I are pass holders over at the Biltmore Estate. We love to go over there. Have y'all been there and seen the changes that they made to make it ADA compliant in the front of Biltmore? Friends, this is a lot prettier than what they did. Okay? This is something that actually integrates it beautifully and makes it very unobtrusive and yet accessible, which is exactly what you want with historic preservation. You don't want to just slap something on there. You want it to be solid. You want it to be congruous. You want people to think, oh, wow, they were forward thinking back then when they designed that front porch, because doesn't it look like they thought about people in wheelchairs? Which, in my opinion, this is going to look like that. I also just want to say, in meeting with Biltmore Village Association, that we have been assured in the association that the HRC and the various committees would be working with historic areas to help when it came to the fact that we got to raise things up and take things out of the basement, make sure that we have sustainable systems, right? Back before we got flooded, when hurricanes have happened before, this has been a center of resilience. Well, we were dead in the water as soon as this thing happened. So building back for resilience allows us to be a center of help for the entire community. In the past, when floods have happened, the Red Cross has been active on our space, in our parish hall, helping people. In the 1916 flood, people literally were sleeping on the pews, right? That's what churches are supposed to be, along with a space to worship God and a space to learn and deepen your faith. It's a space to assist the community. And we can only do that as we build back with serious resilience, so that we can be not just a pretty focal point, but we can be an actual place that helps people whenever something like this happens. And so that's our real goal, is to be an active helper in our community while also being a beautiful place for people to come. Anybody have a question for me? I'm happy to answer. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Sarah Hurlbert, and please feel free, if anybody has any more questions or if anybody wants to see the place, just give us a holler and we're happy to bring you over there. So, yeah, thank you.
Any other people that speak on this?
Wait, did you open the floor for public comment or she was speaking as applicant?
As an applicant.
Okay,
And now I'm going to open the floor for public comment.
to make sure.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Benjamin Mitchell, and I have been sworn in. It's sort of poetic that last month when we were here, we were able to get a CA for the train depot, which is obviously one of our most important buildings down in the Biltmore Village. And I think that arguably this is the most important building in the village for a multitude of reasons. And I've heard a lot about worship and so forth tonight, but it's also a place where people mourn and celebrate. And with respect to this particular project, there could not be more of time being of the essence. We need to move forward with getting this corridor activated as soon as possible with no undue delays whatsoever. I took some time to review the credentials of Ms. Gwynn, who did not, to my knowledge, hammer on that point with you all tonight. She has a long-term relationship with the National Park Service, the Smithsonian Institution, I believe the United States Capitol, and other noteworthy projects throughout this country. With respect to the deployable flood wall, I think that is a novel and effective methodology to protect this structure, both externally and internally. I have lots of experience with deployable flood walls that are not nearly as attractive as that one may be. And the grommets, I think were the term that was used earlier, were pretty masterfully thought through. And I'll be investigating that with respect to other structures. With regard to the mechanicals, as I understand it, these folks are not only looking at the current guidelines that as far as FEMA is concerned for floodwater and mapping and so forth, they're asking to exceed those and to put further resilience into this building for the purposes stated earlier. And so that, I think, the fact of the matter is, if we look at the pattern of use and the view sheds that are in that portion of the village, there is very little foot traffic in that corridor. I'm down there nearly every day, and I seldom see folks congregating or even really walking by that equipment. I'm sure there are some. So I think that they've done a good job with putting that in a place where it's A, functional, B, aesthetically pleasing, and C, resilient on a go-forward basis. With respect to the walkway here, again, this is something where people of all walks of life, so to speak, will be entering this historic structure. They put $1 million into this roof just about 10 years ago, and actually the original tile vendor sold them the tiles then. So these folks have been a steward for a long time. The bells have recently come back on, which is a morale boost to say the least to those of us who are in the village on a daily basis. And with respect to the modification to allow for more simple entry in and outside of this, I think we weren't using the term narthex, but what wouldn't typically be that sort of gathering place in a church seems to make a lot of sense. I've been to this church on many occasions, and I think the last time that they were able to have a worship service here was December 21st of last year. I attended, and we were by candlelight and construction string lights. So those of us in the village, we need these visitors. These visitors need their gathering place back, and anything you all can do to make this move forward as expeditiously as possible, we encourage you to do that, please.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak on this item? If not, I'm going to close the floor for public comment. Commissioners, is staff's recommendation of getting some department heads for ADA and for water and inspections, to have them come in and advise us on what can be flexible on this. under the circumstances. Is there a movement to go that way, or is there another feeling?
Will, before you do that, should people kind of say what so that they have a read of the room, what the real issues are?
Well, I think the real issues are it doesn't follow the standards.
No, I know that. But I mean, there's like there's the porch, there's the mechanicals, and then there's maybe everything else. Or maybe there's 2 buckets there. But like for me, the only thing that gives me major heartburn is the front. I mean, the porch and vestibule. So maybe if other people could say that, what if anything gives them major heartburn, then we would
Well, I
have a-
think the mechanicals are also in so I think it would be a question of how is it getting approved if it doesn't follow the standards?
And what part of well, the only thing that I remember about the mechanicals that doesn't follow the standards is a requirement that they be placed in the back.
Visibility from the street.
But this building doesn't have a back. It's, all sides are street front. So to me, I think that that problem, and this is just speaking for myself, but that solution doesn't, I don't see an easy alternative. But
Okay. So there's, so you would want to hold off the north elevation, the front porch, the loss of the vestibule and the ADA ramp?
I would want to I don't mean that we should approve anything. I just wanted to give,
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear from the life safety people and continue the whole thing.
Okay.
All I mean is, I thought it might be useful for the applicant to get a read on what parts we need to focus
Yeah.
on the next time.
Well, I think it's the compliance with the standards for that front elevation and how the mechanicals are seen from the street and to lessen the impact. And I think they could be close with the shrubs, dumbing it down or hiding it some, but it would be nice to know if there's some things that could move on that from the city's point of view, and not cut it out of what someone would come in to kind of advise us on.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut anything out.
No.
I just meant to give
Yeah.
a temperature.
I'm sorry.
No.
You go ahead, I got a question.
No,
You go
it's
ahead.
question time.
Yeah, if this were to go through, pass through the HRC, it still would have to be reviewed by life safety, correct?
Correct, yes. It would,
Yeah.
they would have to get building permit
Right.
for it, but I think it's a good idea for you all to hear directly from buildings on this. And the other thing that, water is the correct department for the backflow preventer. I don't interface with them. I rarely interface with them. But we can certainly see if they're available to what information, if not, like what we can find out about the
yeah.
preventer, what their requirements are, because those are always really weird. And our water department typically will go out in the field and meet with a property owner and say, this is what you gotta do, and then they forget that we're here. And so they don't consult with us on locations and things like that, so we can get that information together as well, so that you guys have all the information you need to help make your decision.
Appreciate what all of you have done and are saying, and I just feel that I need more information. I feel like this is pretty complicated, and I don't think it's gonna, I feel like for our due diligence, I need more information and input. Regardless, I want to make sure that we are protecting the building. I know you love it too. We all feel the same way, but I agree. I think we need some expert opinions in here. I would feel much better. I don't feel like I'm ready to make a decision right now.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment on this or I guess we're close to asking you to,
I think we want to get a
Continuance.
request to continue to the July meeting, and then we can, if we need to change it or something, we can, but I think that's probably makes the most sense.
so it would be a request to move to the July meeting that would also include some city staff members to help ease some of the heartache on a few of the elements, being water, ADA, and mechanical. Is that a different inspector? Anyway, a number of.
Alex
Yeah,
knows.
that's more so just like a trade permit thing, but we can ask building safety to help us.
Building safety, that's what it was. Okay. So is that okay if you make that, yeah, you have to make it official.
Is there any information that you all, as commissioners, would like to hear from the design team at the July meeting, separate from what you're going to hear from your code review officials?
Maybe if there's an alternative to raising the porch, if there, what that would be, without going to any great expense. I'm trying to think, because that's where a lot of the standards are pushing you not to remove that line of limestone?
Yeah.
And to raise in the porch, to change the proportions of the porch and the vestibule. So I think if there was a pencil version, not this nice one. Am I speaking, is that something the rest of, because I'm not going to be here, but something the rest of the commission would like, or are you fine with just having city?
Well, rather than have them do the work, I think we should have the city come and then we can decide if they're, I mean, it might.
Doing the work is not an issue. We have been working with the church for almost a year now, and so we've exhausted all options. So it's not a matter of work. I just want to, I don't want to present something that isn't really an option that the cathedral considers an option, because not
Right,
raising the porch
understood.
and keeping the vestibule. And
But
the
maybe there was
non-compliant
another solution for bringing people in the doors that isn't raising the floor. Maybe there's not, but come and tell us that in July.
Okay.
We'll call you.
Is there anything
Well,
else?
how about lowering the porch and making it 2 steps into the door? Because it's 9 inches.
I think that's still
now.
changing the front of the building. So we're trying to avoid that, or at least address that, but, or raise the whole building.
We also could very easily, if storing the limestone base that is removed is what's giving people pause, we absolutely can put the limestone base back on the back elevation. The limestone base at the front elevation's unchanged in our plan. But if it is not the elevation change, we did look at options, and I sorry if I wasn't clear about that, but our plan works to put that
Right,
limestone base back.
right.
I just made the preservation decision
To
that I
not
thought it was more in
hide
keeping
it.
with the Secretary of the Interior standards to not be so perfect and try to replicate Hunt's, but I can make the other preservation case just as much. And so if that's something you all would like to see, happy to present that and explore that. And I do think that in my head, would be in fitting with your Biltmore Village standards.
Okay.
I agreed with the choice that you made, because I feel like if you, like, then you're messing with the dimension of, or like the appearance of the dimensions of the wall, which to me, like, that's part of what's so amazing about this building. It's like everything is kind of just so from a proportionality standpoint.
Yeah.
And,
I
and so I feel like just the appearance of that so close to the next feature within the wall would definitely be more of a visual change, I think, but anyway, I agree with your Hornaday about like what other options could we look at. I don't know, but if there are other options.
So we're just gonna get you to say okay to continue to July.
Yes, okay, to continue to July.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Or anyone opposed?
I think you have to have a motion first.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we move consideration of, what is it, 3 Engle Street?
Yes.
Second. Oh,
July 8th.
Perfect.
second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Can we take a 10-minute recess?
Yeah, can we take a little break?
At least 9.
Just for a minute.
How many minutes?
We're going to take 10 minutes and then we'll be back.
I can't talk about any more stuff until I go to the bathroom. Staring at people.
Well, I got a reason for that.
Okay, until I get the laptop.
Nah, they, I haven't talked to them.
It's all good. Folks out of here.
They flipped it, so they have.
Montford?
Yeah.
Montford Park, what's next?
When I checked, yeah, you know.
I was the only vote for that.
Seven.
So, yeah. This.
I am.
So I don't need. Yeah, so I don't, I can.
I need Will to call the meeting back to order.
Oh, if I know them though, right? Okay, long as okay, gotcha.
That's my neighbor earlier.
Sorry.
You know, you're good.
All right, we're back. 7 Montford Park Place, I believe, is what we're going to start talking about. A subdivision of an existing 0.23 acre lot into one, I think there's a typo here, 1.50 acre lot and a 0.0011. That second one.
You're right, there's.
We got to move that decimal.
Yeah. The math isn't mathing. Okay, so yes, this is subdivision. I don't think that most of you probably haven't seen a subdivision request, because we haven't had one in maybe a year or more. But anyways, the HRC is responsible under our UDO, so separate set of standards that are under our development ordinance versus within the design standards that govern this. So that's just important to note to you guys. So there's a separate document in there that includes the section pertaining to subdivisions within historic districts and landmarks. So this is on the north side of the Montford Park property, on the other side of the street on Montford Park Place. An image of the existing structure on the site. You really can't see it in this image, but one important thing to note is that there is a driveway to the right of the house, and then there's a carport towards the back of the driveway. This is the proposed subdivision plat. So they're basically proposing a new flag lot that would have a shared driveway between the two properties. And then the new lot would be towards the rear. The reason why I brought up the carport is because under our subdivision rules, they would have to remove the carport in order for the subdivision to get approval from our zoning staff. So just an FYI, they have not submitted a CA request for that, but they do need to submit a separate CA application. It's something we could review administratively via minor work because it's a carport and not a historic structure. So just wanted you to know that even though you would be giving your approval today, they still have to go take these extra steps before the plat could be recorded. So, but I'm not noting any other concerns or anything related to this. I think that there is opportunity to allow new development features to be built in a manner that is congruous with the special character of the historic district as it relates to building setbacks, orientation, and consistency with the historic development pattern, which is what the standard under the UDO requires. And we usually, if we were looking at a subdivision that includes an existing structure, we also want to make sure that the existing structure is retaining its relationship to the design standards. So we include the standards for new construction, which sounds weird, but that's the closest thing we could apply. So new lot with existing structure will retain its congruency with the historic pattern in terms of building orientation, setback, retention of green space, and spacing between structures. So that's noted in there as well. But don't have any concerns about this. So.
Any questions for staff?
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. We'll now call the applicant up to tell us about their project.
I'm Vicki Coombs, the applicant for 7 Montford Park Place.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, we're going to open the floor see if anybody else has it. I think we're okay on this. I don't think there's and you understood the part about taking down the?
Yes,
All
I
right.
understand, yes.
And you don't have a problem with that? Okay. I think that's going to be it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody here to speak on this? I mean, open the floor for public comment. Is anyone here to speak on this? I'm going to close the floor for public comment. Is there any commissioner comment, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Chairman, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A application and staff comment letters, 6 pages. Sorry, I was making sure I was in the right one. Exhibit B, proposed plat, 1 page. Exhibit C, parcel map, 1 page, added by staff June 1st, 2026. Exhibit D, photo, 1 page, added by staff June 1st, 2026. And the commission's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members. I move that this commission approve the preliminary subdivision approval based on the following. 1, that the application is for the subdivision of an existing 0.23 acre parcel into 1.111 acre parcel and 1.1105 acre parcel. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the standards for new construction primary structures found on pages 92 and 93 of the Montford Historic District Design Review Standards adopted April 14th, 2010 and amended December 11th, 2019, and the standards for subdivisions found in Unified Development Ordinances, Chapter 7-15-1, I-11 were used to evaluate this request. This application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, subdivision of lots would allow for new development features at a minimum to be built in a manner that is congruous with the special character of the historic district as it relates to building setbacks, orientation, and consistency with the historic development pattern. B, new lot with existing structure will retain its congruency with the historic pattern in terms of building orientation, setback, retention of green space, and spacing between structures. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in this application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Is there a second?
Second.
We got a lot of seconds. We'll give that to Oliva. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following, with the following conditions of the carport to be, okay.
For that, because they have to get that to get the subdivision approval, so.
Okay.
It's okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that carried. Thank you very much.
Next application is 207 Pearson Drive. This is for an amendment to a major work CA that was issued back in March. You might recall this one. Just to recap though, where the property is located, it's towards the north end of Pearson Drive. Subject property photo on the right-hand side. Sorry, I realize this slide might be a little confusing. On the top left is a cutout of the previously existing and proposed or approved site plan, and then on the bottom is the right. The applicant is proposing a small bump out. This is post the new adoption of the new design standards. So there's the bump out that's on the right-hand side that would just come off the rear corner of the structure. It's pretty small. I think it's just an additional, like maybe 70 square feet. Existing and proposed floor plans and existing and proposed elevation drawings if you're looking at it from the side. And then this is what was approved and what is proposed on the bottom. You see the little bump out. So I'm not noting any concerns on this. The other thing to note is that in the previous approval, they were proposing to reuse multiple windows that they were taking off the back of the house when to build the new addition, and they would like to just store those on site and install new windows. So
But it's install new windows, you said?
Yeah,
And
I
they have
did
respect.
I did ask for, or I did note in my staff report that, you know, in the past, the commission has required true divided light windows versus simulated divided light. So that is a note in my staff report as well. That's not like something that is clearly stated in the standards. It's just something that the commission has stipulated, especially when they're more visible windows on something like a smaller residential house, because the simulated divided lights do look quite different than historic windows on houses that are existing, so.
Questions for staff? Okay, thanks much.
Thank you.
Now the applicant come up and tell us about their project, the part B of their project.
Hi, I'm Sarah Howell, and I am an architect and a resident of Montford, and I'm here on behalf of the owners, who are Richard and Sarah Brown and Brian Clift. And I guess you may have questions for me, so I think Alex explained it pretty clearly, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for the applicant?
What about the simulated divided light? Are you proposing?
From a cost standpoint, it would be much better to be allowed to use simulated divided light windows. And it's true divided light windows with insulated glass are pretty unusual, and you have a thermal break then because of the true divided light, so it's less energy efficient. I actually don't know what those would cost, but it can be done. I mean, we might have to do single pane glass if we're doing true divided lights, but the windows are all on the rear facade and the side of the house, only that on the new small bump out, and the only other windows on that facade are also not original, and are simulated divided light on the windows that are the triple window that you see that are in the dining nook of the house. It's on that rear elevation on the first level. Those are not original windows. But I do believe the owner would be fine with that stipulation. Because we had applied a month ago, we've had time to review the design with some general contractors and get preliminary pricing. And they said that refurbishing the existing windows would, as opposed to replacing them, would be an upfront cost of around $1,000 per window, plus long-term cost for lack of energy efficiency with the original windows. And because it's the rear and the side facade, we were thinking that it would be all right to just store the original windows and put in new ones. Does that answer your question? That was not really about the simulated divided lights and the true divided lights completely, but.
And there are 5 of those?
Yeah, there'll be 4 new windows. Because some of, 5 new windows total. Yeah.
That diamond pattern one?
And the diamond pattern we will reuse, and then we will create a replica of the diamond pattern for the opposite facade.
And so, yes to the true divided glass. And any other questions from commissioners?
The new addition, what'd you say, 70 square feet or something tiny? It's stucco on top, baseboard, stucco on bottom. Is that right?
Yes, which it matches the other bump out that's on that same facade, which is a bay window. And so the pebble dash flares out right at the first level, and then below that is just parged over the foundation wall. So it's not pebble dash to the earth. But it'll match the other facade. Maybe I should let me just go back to the picture.
It's smooth stucco somewhere.
Yeah, Oh, I
And
think
that's how
too
the
far.
rest of the house is?
There are.
Under the,
If you, here, let me help you.
Yeah,
This
'cause
is just
there-
my slide.
Oh, I see, because there are definitely photos of the side. I think.
We like break stuff
Yeah.
up and are in weird way, so hopefully it's.
Let's look at the photos. That might be the clearest. So hard to see in that photo. The vegetation, when the vegetation is all the way in, you can't.
It's matching. Right?
It's matching, yes.
Okay.
okay.
In the elevations, I think you can see. Here we go. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Rob, that it looks like it's just continuous. But in the images, you can see that there's a little division where the pebble dash ends and then the smooth, the finish over the concrete block begins. But it'll look the same. The new bump out is in proportion exactly with the existing.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? All righty.
I'm actually not clear on what windows are.
Well, in
What's
the
spec
back-
of the windows, because that's a 40-page gelled win.
Oh,
Oh, I did that, yeah, I just added, I put in that PDF in addition to the one page that shows the actual window, which is
series.
It's Gelman's traditional line. I think it's called all wood. No, it's not it. Hold on. Windows privacy. Yeah, so the door here is here, and this is the wood. It's the, wood. They're just called custom wood windows.
Okay, so it's simulated divided wood, but the muntins are applied to the glass.
So with the simulated divided light, the muntins are applied, and then there's a spacer between the glass. But if you're requiring true divided light, then we'll request that, and if it ends up not being gelled win, we just would submit that, if it has to be custom made by someone else.
Man, that's up to you. I mean, I almost wonder like I mean, I know, it sounds like you guys looked at it from a cost perspective, but just, is it gonna be that much more cost effective to not reuse the existing windows? Do you know what I mean?
The general contractor said that every window needed to be reglazed. So that was a big add to remove the windows and reglaze them, and then $1 per window, so, but, yeah. But honestly, aesthetically, I mean, and the owner grew up in this home and loves this home and would be fine either way. I mean, of course, it's good, I mean, it's gonna be helpful for the success of the project to be able to save cost here and, and save energy and use more energy efficient windows in the future, but
So I'm
It's up to
sorry, I'm
y'all.
still not clear. So to restore the windows just by replacing the glazing is $1,000 estimate per window, and the new windows are more or less than 1,000 per window?
I don't
Well,
think
it's-
we
no,
can
it's an-
consider that.
yeah.
I don't-
Well,
we-
Well, no,
the
it's an-
owner is making their decision. I would,
No, we still can't consider finances, money on the,
okay, then I'm not, okay.
but I get what you're doing, but it's just not under, we don't even have to go down that path.
Oh, okay.
Because they have raised it, but it's.
Oh.
So if they always say, we don't want to do it because it costs too much, then, that's the conditions, usually says, well, what do we think is really necessary in terms of the historic standards? And that's, in that regard, money shouldn't come into cost. But what your question was.
Replacing glazing.
Why not restore the windows? That's
Mhm.
why, that's what I'm asking. Because it's not like they're rotted. If it's just the glazing.
Yeah.
that's-
That'd be more energy efficient.
Leslie was
to
saying
not
that
buy
the
new
glazing
windows.
was not very difficult, but your contractor thinks that it is, but she's a contractor and she thinks it isn't.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just, it was the labor of just removing, restoring and replacing. And that it wasn't 1,000 per window versus something, I mean, it was, he said it was $1,000 more per window than to just buy windows. But, yeah, I see your point. And we have two versions.
Are they the same size, the windows you're replacing?
Yes, but they're not, the locations aren't the same, but we would, because the original design, we reused the windows. The owner wanted to continue down that path and use the same size windows that are being, even though they're going to be in new locations.
And the 3 windows on the back that are still going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Those are what?
Those are not original windows. And I realize I said earlier that they're simulated divided light, but I'm not actually sure about that. So I rescind that statement. But I do know that they're not original.
'Cause you're
Like,
under
I do know
oath.
they were putting in it, they were put in 2000 with this with addition on the back of the house. That bay window was put in.
Well, I'm sure it was divided light was stipulated by the commission at that time for windows, true divided lights. So.
Okay.
I would assume, I don't know. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. I think we're okay for now. If we have questions, we may call you back. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to open the floor for public comment. Is anybody here to speak on this? Closing the floor for public comment. Commissioners, thoughts on the overall addition? I don't think is having any
No issues.
issues. And the applicant offered to have divided glass, true divided glass windows. And I think that better aligns with the standards. Any other thoughts on that? Or is someone ready to make a motion, or is there more comment, talk?
Motion.
Huh?
I'm ready.
I think they should restore the original windows.
Then you make a motion that they should restore the original windows. Okay?
I make
I
a
don't-
motion that the original windows be reused rather than replaced if they're.
How many original windows, so so they would still need to buy, they would still need to make the, help me. You have to come up, just so that the microphone picks you up. So there's the casement or the diamond pattern.
So it would be one window on the side elevation, because the one that the lower double hung window is in question, whether it could be new or reused. And the one above it is a diamond pattern window that will definitely be reused. And then on the rear facade, the one immediately to the left of the door, right here, and then these two up here would all be new or reused. That's what's in question.
Do
One,
you
two,
have enough
three.
windows to reuse them all? I
Yes.
lost count.
Yes, because that was the original. The original design was repurposing the windows.
Okay.
And I should add that the original design included the bump out on the side elevation, but then we removed it.
Put it back.
And then, so it's not like, we didn't just add that to the program once the amendment came through. We removed it when we realized it was not allowed, and then when the side amendments were approved, the side additions were approved, we were
But when we
happy to
say-
put it back
just
in.
For clarity, when we say we're reusing them, like you're reusing a window that's been taken out, but the wall is actually moving.
Yeah,
It's a new
It's
wall.
a completely different location, different, new wall,
Okay.
new,
So
but not, it's not being replaced in the same location, yeah.
So it's not like an application where somebody just comes in and says to us, I want to replace 5 of my windows. The wall is changing, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but seems a little different.
It is different, yeah.
So there's a motion to reuse the existing windows, or is there a motion to reuse the existing windows? If so, someone can make that motion.
Well, it's not really a motion,
It's
sort of your straw poll, and where it's like, what happens?
No, we're making a motion. We're moving on.
Okay. Usually you see what other commissioners are willing to
Yeah.
approve as written or not. And
Who would like, all right, so the two options are replacing with true divided light window, new windows, or reusing the existing historic windows on the building.
They have to be reglazed, right?
Yeah. Reglazed, using the same glass, just reputtied.
I vote for reusing the windows.
There's one. All right, so reusing the windows, raise your hand. Amy? New windows? Okay. I think we have a motion and it, that would reflect reusing the windows. Okay. And buying that, you're making one new window, the diamond pattern window.
And one window will have to be new.
That's the diamond pattern one.
Oh, I thought that one of the double hung has to be new also. Sorry, okay.
And
My bad.
if you were to deny that, then that window could very easily be omitted from the project, and that's this window here. 'Cause
No.
It's,
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, sorry.
All right, someone ready to make a motion?
on the dormer there. Go ahead.
Amend the application to.
I think it's being done right now.
That condition.
Changed as we speak.
So are you okay with amending your application to reusing the existing historic windows?
Yes.
Great. I think we're done then, for now. We're going to reclose the public hearing, and if there's a motion, someone should say it.
Making a motion. Chairman, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A application, project description, and owner's affidavit, 5 pages. Exhibit B, site and floor plan, 7 pages. Exhibit C, elevation drawings and renderings, 4 pages. Exhibit D, window specifications, 79 pages. Exhibit E, photos, 3 pages. Exhibit F, previously approved plans, 9 pages, added by staff June 1st, 2026, and the commission's actual inspection and review of subject property. I move that this commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for the amendment to major work CA number 26-01053PZ for removal of existing deck and addition on rear elevation and construction of a 525 square foot, 2-story addition with pebble dash siding, wood brackets and asphalt shingle and roof matching existing. 4 existing wood windows will be reused and 1 existing wood diamond light window will be installed on addition. 1 pair of Pella Lifestyle wood single light doors will be installed on rear of addition. Construction of a 13-foot 5-inch by 19-foot 8-inch deck and stair with KDAT flooring and painted wood railing with a 1-inch square picket space 4 inches on center on rear elevation. All work will be completed in accordance with approved with and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approval as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the standards for addition found on pages 88, 89, decks on pages 38 and 39, and windows and doors on pages 84, 85 of the Montford Historic District Design Review Standards adopted April 14th, 2010, and amended December 11th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. This application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, addition will not impact an existing porch, entryway, exterior chimney, or other character-defining features. The proposed addition is clearly subordinate to the existing building and sufficiently set back from the front primary building plane and sufficiently sized, and a sufficiently sized side yard exists. B, existing wood windows are being retained and used on the new addition. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic nature historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
From Gorman? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you very much.
Right, let's let these folks get home. Last one, 112 Pearson Drive. We've seen this building a few times in the past couple of years, but this application is for this little one-story brick ranch house in the corner of Birch Street and Pearson Drive. I'm not going to go into the weeds on this application, but the project is to construct a new screened-in porch on the rear elevation. I am not noting any concerns with this application. I think it's consistent with the building. There are a few little details that I'm not sure that I have in here in terms of the reveal of the siding, the lap siding that you want to use, what kind of trim, and maybe I missed that, so I'll let the applicant speak to those features. I do also we need the specifications for the skylights, mainly the dimensions for those, but these are all things that are minor and can be reviewed by staff. And then also I did note in my in my staff report that the steps coming off of the porch should be, if they're wood, they should be painted. That's it.
Any questions for staff? All right. Call up the applicant, tell us about their project, and thank them for staying to the end.
Thank you for this. Just here to answer questions if you have them.
Any questions for the applicant? I think we're going to move this along. Okay. Is there anybody else here to speak on this? Then I'm going to close the floor for public comment. And commissioners, any discussion on this, or are we ready to make a motion? Oh, great.
Get to the motion page. Based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application and project description, 6 pages, Exhibit B, site and floor plans, 4 pages, Exhibit C, renderings and elevation drawings, 5 pages, Exhibit D, material specifications, 6 pages, Exhibit E, photos, 7 pages, and the commission's actual inspection and review of the subject property, I move that this commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for the construction of a 188 square foot front porch on rear elevation. Porch will have TBD reveal, white smooth fiber cement lap siding, painted wood trim, dark colored screening, 2 screen doors, painted wood steps, Trex composite flooring, and asphalt shingle roof matching existing. 2 dimensions TBD Velux skylights will be installed on the roof of porch. Removal of 7 dead or deteriorated eastern white pine, Pinus strobus trees, trees of the same or similar species from the Montford recommended species list will be planted prior to the end of the fall 2026 planting season. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before any work may commence. 2, that the standards for non-contributing structures found on pages 68, 69, and landscaping and trees on pages 40, 41 of the Montford Historic District Design Review Standards, adopted April 14th, 2010, and amended December 11th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. This application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, every effort has been made to maintain the architectural integrity of the structure. B, alterations and additions to the structure will be compatible with the size, scale, color, matter, and character of the neighborhood, the building, and its environment. C, Trees to be removed are dead or deteriorated. Replacement trees will be the same as similar species from the Montford recommended species list. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Holt. All in favor?
On the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, siding, reveal, and skylight specifications, including dimensions, will be submitted for staff review and approval.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Gorman. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. This might be the peak of everyone's evening.
Okay. I just want to note that we usually on the motion templates, or the staff reports really, and then they get copied into the motion templates, like copy and paste a lot from our past iterations. And so that in the, when Vice Chair Oliva was reading last motion, I realized that we didn't correct the amended date for the 3 Montford items because the amended date says December 11, 2019, and it was actually May 13th, 2026. And so Matt was just saying he thought that could be considered a scrivener's error. So, but you just need to ask the chair to.
Yeah, I think just get it on the record that there was that sort of editorial scrivener's error.
Okay.
And then bring it to the council's attention, see if there are any concerns. And then I don't think that, given the nature of the error, that any motions or anything need to be made, nor does it undermine the validity of the CAs that have been issued today. But I think just bringing it certainly to the chair's attention and letting you decide what
So
to
in
do
the
with it.
future, we won't be mentioning the other date. It'll just be the first date and 2026.
That's how it's always been. I'm not sure why it's like that, but that's just how it's always been since I've
Okay.
been with the commission, but. Yeah.
Especially that one that was a side edition. That one mattered.
I think just raise it. I don't think it needs to have any motion. I think the chair can decide what to do with it. If he wants to, if he thinks that the commission needs to vote on it, but I think given the nature of the error, it's up to the chair to decide what to do.
Take legal's advice and keep moving.
Okay. Let's see, reminder for our education event on Friday. We have almost 90 registrants for the Lunch and Learn. Sorry, we have almost 90 registrants for our Lunch and Learn, which is, I reached out to the SHPO and they said that's probably a record for an educational event that's been funded by one of their grants. So, so yeah, excited for that. And then I don't know how it didn't make it on to this iteration of the agenda that I'm looking at, but we do need a recommendation from folks on the 2 preliminary landmark applications, thanks to those who were able to come to the site visits. The next step in that process is for the commission to make their recommendation to the applicant, and Josie is the applicant. She decided to leave, and I just told her I would follow up, but you guys just make, usually the next step is for you all to observe the site, know what you know so far, and recommend whether you think they should pursue the next step in the process, which is to flesh out the full designation report. And they can elect to do that either way. This is just a courtesy step in our process that we have for folks in case there's a candidate that might not be viable. We like to tell them that before they go to the expense of creating the report. So I certainly support both of those.
So it's E.W. Grove Park and
The Feldman House.
Feldman?
18 Beaver Brook Drive. It was a really cool mid-century house, I have to say. It was pretty special place, so.
That was a Burt King house. Okay. Is there anybody who,
As somebody who visited, I definitely agree that they both, I think, meet the standards that we would require or request. So I make a motion, if that's the next step, that we go ahead and.
And I'll second it.
Yep.
Mr.
Oh,
Commissioner Holtz already did?
Sorry.
But you can eye it.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
The approval of EW Grove Park and, or to move forward with EW Grove Park and 18 Beaver Brook for local landmark recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Okay, and so then the next step in the process will be they'll submit their draft designation report to you all. And then it may or may not be ready to send off to the SHPO at that point, but that would be then the next formal process would be to send it off to the SHPO. And then once we have comments back for them, we schedule the public hearing. You have a public hearing where you make a recommendation to the city council, your recommending body in these cases. And so then we would have a formal public hearing with the city council as well for these two items. So it's a little bit of a long process, but we shall get there. So thank you. Only if it's in the county.
Is there a motion for a 7:15? I don't think it's 7:15.
Motion
It's
to end the
past that.
meeting at
It's-
7:25.
I hear it's 7:26. Is there a motion to close the meeting, the June 2026 HRC meeting?
I make a motion to close the June 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, well, nice job, buddy.
Thank you.
I didn't say this under other business, but I'll reach out to everyone about trying to do a social gathering to celebrate Will and Sue's time with
Partay.
us.
Okie dokie.
Now you can just go home and sleep.
Yeah.
You just have to make it home.
Yeah, just gotta make it home.
That's the goal.
Sorry.